Hey, welcome to December 17th of the December Dash. I'm William Mears, as per usual. We're here. I'm trying to find a live video. For some reason, it's not showing. It's been one of those days, folks, so you're going to have to bear with me and uh, go go easy, right? Tread lightly. That's all I'm saying. No threats, just because I don't do that. Take it easy today, all right? Like, lot of stuff coming my way, so deal with what you got, which is me. And I'll do the best that I can today. Again, been one of those days. So here we go. I'm gonna click on the stream here. See if I can get that loaded up for the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let's start there. Really? Come on, Facebook, which is me. There we go. All right. So let me know where you're tuning in from. Happy to know that always. Want to know where you're tuning in from. That way I can get an idea of where people are at, what you're going through, what kind of time of day, time of night it is, all that kind of stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about what was it? Sorry, I looked at it earlier. Now I just forgot it. Failure and what it really is. Okay, so this is a great topic. Excuse me, topic for today. For a few different reasons, because you can see that I'm clearly not like 100% where I would like to be. It's pissing me off on a personal level, but I'm not pissed at anyone. More just frustrated, I guess, would be the more accurate example or way to say that. I can't even get my fucking sentences straight. So that kind of frustration might make you think that anything I do today or touch today might turn to shit, which is actually not true. Um, is today going to be a struggle? Most likely, but what would today be considered a failure? And that's going to be my question to you. Um, would you consider today a failure? And if you do consider it a failure, why? Why would you consider it a failure? And I want to actually hear from you in the comments. And I'm not going to move forward until I get some kind of an engagement from you guys on what your thoughts are on that, because this is that important of a topic. Um, we have the rare luxury, believe it or not, the rare moment of you guys actually getting to see that I'm human and have shit days and have good days and anything and everything in between. This just happens to be one of my more shit days for some reason. It's not like I picked today to be shit, right? It's not like I'd like it to be that way, and I'm not saying it is shit because that's part of the mindset. But the idea is I am human, and I want to cover really in sort of a documentation form, um, like documenting, yes, not only am I human, but here's how I handle my own failures, or here's how I handle my own struggles. Not that you have to model everything after me on this one, but on this particular uh, topic, but it can help you take care of your own shit, right? Especially if you're anything like me and you beat yourself up. A lot of the stuff I'm saying right now are things that I usually keep within. It's not something I like to talk about. It's not something I like to share because I don't like throwing negative shit out there. Because I also know if you do that consistently anyway, it will come back to you. Sometimes immediately, instant karma, and sometimes it's takes a while to come back around. So um, whatever's going on today, shit's just not lining up for me the way I'd like it to. Not even close, actually. From what I would even consider just an acceptable run of the mill good day, right? Or decent day. Not even necessarily good. It's just completely opposite of that. And it's like no matter what I try to do, it's totally turned to shit, and it looks like it's going to continue doing that. Um, so how do I deal with that? Do I consider that a failure? I need to hear from you. Do you consider that a failure? Uh, John says, William, at my age, every day waking up is a good day. I don't think I'll ever get there, man. I know that's a mindset of a lot of people. I don't think I'll ever get there. I've never really adopted that, or it's not that I don't understand it. It's just that with what I've got on my agenda and my plate, I expect to till the day I die. Uh, whether that's tomorrow, today, maybe, or years and years and years from now, I fully expect to not have uh, that idea of waking up is well, it's got to be a good day because at least I woke up. It's not really how I look at things. Let's see. Fail forward, progress is perfection. I would agree with that, Steve. I don't know why I said Taylor. I just saw your last name first. Steve said that. John says, seriously, very few days are all bad. You just sometimes have to have a serious think to find the good bits. Yeah, and the thing is, I'm caught up in the middle of just like shit that I need to do, shit that I have to do. For example, I made the commitment to be here at 11 a.m. despite anything else, right? So that means other shit's going to have to be moved around, uncomfortable, fucked up, whatever, from time to time. Not every day is going to be perfect. I get that. I don't expect that actually, not even close. And so I think it might help to give some perspective on how I usually gauge things um, before I just go, wow, I should probably just not do anything else for the day or do something completely different for the day. And sometimes that's working in another company. Sometimes that's uh, just spending your time doing absolutely nothing, believe it or not. Sometimes it's sleeping. Uh, Fuck it, I'm going out on the town, stuff like that, right? Um, but how I tend to process things is when it comes to like good days, bad days, things like that. Um, I look for I look for how do I say this? I look for uh, the ways, the things that need to be done, right, for the day, right? And I usually have like a few main things that got to get done, right? And then if they get done, it's a fantastic day. And everything else from that point is bonus. And I usually make it like a not a low bar, but I make it a bar that's a few hours to jump it, and it was a good challenge, and I blitzed through it, I dashed through it, and then on to the next thing, and it's all bonus, right? And then there's so there's days where that doesn't happen, or other things crop up and need to be taken care of immediately, just based on urgency or whatever um, that get in the way of the priority topics. And the thing is like a lot of that stuff I could put to the side and say it's still not better than it's still not more important than my priorities, because my priorities, my three priority things, my five priority things, whatever, they have to get done, right? But there are days where even if that's even if that was all I had, and no emergencies came up or no fires to put out came up, there are days still horrible enough to where uh, those 3 to 5 things aren't going to get done no matter what. Just no matter what, it's just not going to happen. Not because it's not possible. It's just because of where I'm at, the state I'm in, whatever it is that's going on in my head. Maybe I can't even string together fucking words into a sentence. Basic shit that like cognitive function. Um, I'm not really in cognitive decline that I can tell. But again, we all have our moments. We all have our days where it's just like, I don't even know if I could clap right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if my hands could meet in the middle to form applause repeatedly. I don't know if that's going to happen today, and I don't even want to tempt fate by trying it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's so. There are standards because I don't expect everything to be perfect. I really don't. What I expect is to things to be at least at a minimum fucking level of operation. So I have what I'm shooting for, yes. What I would consider is fantastic or excellent, not so bad, right? Pretty good. Hope tomorrow's better, but got some stuff done nonetheless. And then, you know, real gut punches, like what's going on right now? Is somebody fucking pranking me? Why is this happening like this, right? And I don't understand, right? So these level and there's like those minimum standards of like I don't expect every day to be a great day. I don't expect every day to be a good day. I expect to at least at a bare minimum have that day where today wasn't so great, but I got some stuff done. Cool. That's like to me that's my minimum. If anything drops below that, I'm I get irate. I get pissed. Um, and not necessarily directed at anybody again, but you probably don't want to know me right about that time. You don't want to be talking to me right about that time. And you certainly don't want to be interrupting my fucking day when I'm dealing with that kind of stuff mentally. That's where I'm at. And I get to those places. Sometimes, Not always, but I'd say, I don't know, 40%, less than half of the time right now. If I'm being 100% transparent, I'd say a third to 40%. It's definitely not half. So somewhere, 1 out of 3 times I'm able to pull myself back from a completely catastrophic day. Compliments don't do it. Um, Happy videos on YouTube sometimes don't do it right on those couple of times. But that 1 out of 3 is definitely worth trying for, hey, let me go watch a funny YouTube video. Hey, let me go play with my dog, right? Hey, let me do something that's a state change, right? And sometimes for me anyway, the state changes on an overall day are just not as effective. Or if I have a stumble early in the day, then later in the day, I'm more prone to stumbling back again, right? Even if I've recovered once in the middle of the day or at the beginning of the day. So it's something to be aware of. Not every day is going to be perfect. Now, do I consider the days where I can't even string sentences together, kind of like today? uh, where I sound like maybe a presidential candidate slash elect slash who knows if he's really fucking president or not kind of guy. I have days like that, yes, but the question is, um, what do I do with those days? Do I consider them failures? I mean, what do you think? Do I consider them failures? And that's what I want to know. I want to look in the comments and find out. Someone says Netflix and chill. Art says Netflix and chill. Um, Oh, wow. A lot of comments. Appreciate you guys. Hold on. Let me come back up here. We got Scott on, David Bennett, Art, Tim Blank. Art, I missed the beginning. What are we giving feedback on? Again, should I consider today a failure? Let's pretend not only did I get stuff, I haven't finished the day, obviously, but let's pretend for a second because days like this happen and tend to lead this way in quite a few cases where not only do I not get stuff done or anything done, or maybe one or two things done, but are very, let's say, low level priority. But I have major shit break on top of that. Like, so it's not even a half a step forward and it's like 5 steps back, right? On those days, do you consider those days failures, right? Um, Adrian's tuning in from Jamaica, land of wood and water. That's good. It's always good. Rob says can't be a failure because the day isn't over. Again, let's pretend for a second the day is over. Like I said, I'm glad I said that. Also, there's an opportunity to reflect on today's mistakes. I agree. I'm not one to really take the time in most cases unless I have a complete fucking meltdown. I'm close to that right now, if you couldn't tell. Um, Not that I'm going to rip anybody's head off or anything. I know how to breathe and take it easy. At the same time, though, I got zero tolerance for any kind of bullshit today. If you follow my meaning, um, more than usual, let's say, right? Williams or David says, William, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. Given what I know about you, if you're struggling today, I would expect that you will execute one of your state change strategies, at least to the best of your ability, push through it. Yeah, I agree, David. And again, sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. It's not a perfect system. There's nothing that's ever going to be perfect. We're all human, right? You're human. I'm human. Uh, there are things that are more effective for me, but again, 1 out of 3 when I get into a certain level, right? So think of it as a snowball. At a certain level of rolling a snowball down the hill, right? It builds its own momentum, and then it gets to the point where it becomes dangerous and can like hurt people, kill people, right? That's not a joke. Like a big ass snowball coming down the hill, and it's huge. It's 2, 3 times the size of you. It might hurt you. You might break an arm if you get run over by it, and it's carried by its own momentum. So here's the point. If your day starts out like that and it's on a negative path that way, for example, sometimes you're able to stop the snowball, kick it while it's still, a kickable snowball and kick it off its path and it'll break a little bit and it'll slow down and stop. Sometimes stop altogether. Sometimes it'll roll off and trail off and not hurt anybody or anything. No big deal. But then there's other days where it gets away from you, right? And by the time that snowball has gotten away from you, that's what I mean by state changes not having as much of an effect, like 1 in 3. If you catch it early enough, or if there's not an avalanche of just shit that hits you all at the same fucking time, which tends to be what happens to me. It's not like this shit happens to me usually over the course of even several hours. It's usually within a 2 hour period or less. I've seen it as tight of a window as 20 minutes, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, calm the fuck down, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck is going on out there today for this to be going on and to wreak havoc on my day? That's not really uh, for it to impact me like that. And so that's when sometimes, again, the snowball gets away from you. State changes help, yes, if you can catch the snowball on time. That's why I say catch it early, catch it often when it comes to that for the state changes. But there are times, I'm telling you right now, we're all human. We're not always going to catch the snowball going down the hill 100 out of 100. Again, we're not perfect, right? We're not perfect beings. So appreciate that comment. Just please understand there's a difference in what I'm talking about here from what I've taught. Yes, what I teach very much applies. This is a new set of teaching, which is a real world live example of somebody going through some shit and how they're processing it and dealing with it. That's what I want you to take away from it. Questy says we just got to keep on swinging. I agree. That's right. Swing, swing, swing. Even if you know today's means that by swinging you might hit something behind you instead of in front of you. Art says I'm missing the context of what to consider a failure. Okay, uh, don't worry about it. You're probably overthinking. Scott, no, not a failure. As long as you don't give up and quit, you might have to make changes and keep on moving forward. I agree. It's not a failure, right? Just for the record, it's a because I did ask that question. A failure is when I give up, and I don't mean give up for the day either. Sometimes it's good to call it a day, right? Sometimes it's good. I don't think I'm at that point yet, right? And I have the ability to maybe not stop the snowball, but definitely, push the snowball on a different path, right? I definitely have the opportunity to do that today because it's still early enough in my day to be able to do that. At the same time, with what I've got on my plate after this live stream, I fully expect, my expectations are that I'm just going to do well just to get out of the way of the fucking thing right now, and let it keep rolling on and do the damage it's going to do, right? And pick up the pieces today slash tomorrow and keep swinging, right? That's where I'm at. It's not a great place. It's also not horrible, and it's definitely progress. And again, as I always say, progress is the perfection. So you don't. It's not all fucking hunky dory. It's not all rainbows and unicorns, guys. Right? Some days you're not even going to be able to string together two sentences. And I'm in my mid 30s. I don't have any cognitive decline. I don't have any kind of speech impediment or any issues or anything like that. So to deal with shit like this today for me is especially frustrating because it's almost like, really, I can't even do any better than that. Like, I wonder if I were to go take a piss right now, if it would go in the bowl. Like that's where I'm at right now, and that sucks. That place is not a fun place, right? I'm pretty sure I would hit the bowl because I've already hit the bowl today, but it seems like that's about all I can do right now, successfully. But that doesn't mean I stop swinging, right? Mohammed's here. Cool, cool. Adrian from London. Mohammed says, "What's today's topic? Failure. Failure and what it really is, right?" So to bring things back home, um, today's not a failure, right? Sometimes it may feel that way, right? Our feelings, though, here's the thing, guys, and I say guys and gals, because everybody is an emotional being. Guys less so outwardly, but we do have feels, and it does hit us on the inside, right? Here's the thing, guys and gals. When it comes to feelings and emotions, you can't let that govern what you do or don't do. If you notice, yes, am I frustrated? Absolutely. Am I is shit not going right? You can bet your ass I'm not exaggerating. I wouldn't lie to you guys like that. I'm sure you know that by now. I tell you not only the truth, but I tell you the truth when it's not to my benefit even because I want you to see and hear how I process and how I deal. Not that I'm the master or anything by any means, but I've gotten to levels that most people can only dream about. So yeah, I'm going to share that experience with you so that you can pull from it what you need, right, for your life, for your experiences. Some of it's going to apply, some of it's not. When it comes to the business model itself, almost all of it should apply. But on the personal side, like today, a little bit more on dealing with failure. Is today a failure? That whole thing. Uh, and what failure actually is. Failures are just um, road signs, folks. They're just warning signs. That's it. Failure is just warning signs. Excuse me, failure of what we actually, there's a difference between what failure actually is and what we think failure is, what failure makes us feel, right? Uh, but it's not actually failure that's making us feel that. It's the warning signs that make us feel that we failed, right? It's kind of like coming up to a stoplight, right? Or a detour sign. That'd be even better. So a detour sign, we come up to it and we're expecting to go down this path and there's a fucking detour sign. Hate detours, right? I'm sure everybody else does too. It's like, fuck, now how much out of the way is this going to take me, right? It's usually the first thought that most people have on detour, right? Nowadays, my thoughts on detours tend to initially go to, oh, that sucks, but at the same time, there's a good reason for the detour, I'm sure. Maybe the road's unfinished, maybe somebody got hurt, maybe there's a landslide or whatever. Probably don't want to be going down that road anyway. This is going to be faster, and who knows what I'll see on this road. But it says it's going to take me to the same place that I was ultimately going after. So onward, right? Um, Whereas most people would look at that detour sign and stop the vehicle and say, "Oh man, I can't go this way," and use that sign or that emotion, that feeling as an actual failure, and use that as the reason why they stop doing what they're doing. In other words, stop the car, and that is the failure because you stopped. Now, if you stop the car for a second to contemplate life choices or whatever, and then decide to go on with the detour, you have not failed by definition because you didn't give up. I've seen people quit this business model. I've seen people 14 months in decide to get their shit together, come in and just blow it up. I've seen people quit, start, quit, start, quit, start, quit, start, quit, whatever, and 5 or 6 times, and then nailed it on the sixth. And I'm like, only because you were consistent, you didn't give up, and that's why. Well, I failed 5 times. No, you didn't. Not really. You stopped, but that's not the same thing as failure, right? But isn't it funny, and not haha funny, but isn't it strange? Isn't it ironic how we these emotions that we feel for some reason convince us so strongly that every time we fuck up or every time there's a fucking detour or something in our life that's just not what we expected, man, is we call that a failure, or we're so quick to judge it as a failure, right? Usually, without even realizing it in a lot of cases, you know, to like, and we resign to that. Like you heard me say earlier, I'm not happy with where I'm at right now for the day, but I also know that I acknowledge and recognize that I have the rest of the day to, number one, get the fuck out of the snowball's way so I don't get hurt. That would be the most important thing because I'd like to be able to wake up tomorrow and crush it, right? Not that I'm done with today by any means, but if all I spent today was just getting out of the way of that damn snowball that's rolling down at me, I'd be good, right? Then once I'm out of the way, I'm going to see about working on, like I said, deflecting it, rolling it down a trailing off path so that it doesn't keep building up speed and momentum and creating a bunch of havoc and shit. Am I going to do that from a place of like ultimate joy and happiness? No. Will I find the gratitude? You bet your ass I will, right? You bet your ass I will. And it will reset me a little bit, I'm sure. In fact, being on this call does fill me with gratitude a lot more than if I didn't have this call scheduled. um, so it works out, I guess, in my favor on that one. And now all I've got to do is get out of the way of the snowball at the end of this call, when I'm off the call. But again, failure is actually not what we think it is in most cases. It's or what we're feeling at the time, right? Just because we feel a certain way does not mean that's it's our reality, but that doesn't mean that's actually what's going on, if that makes sense. We create our own reality. I'm sure you've heard that before, and that's very, very true. Um, and there are days where I don't care who you are, finding the silver lining can be in very few days that are like this for me, but they are out there. Today's not one of them. I'll find the silver lining today. I'm confident I will. At least getting out of the way of the snowball, all that kind of stuff. At the same time, there are very few days where few and far between that will happen to you that even that is a seemingly impossible task. It's not impossible, but it feels that way, and it's about um, not latching onto that, right, emotionally, because a lot of people are like, well, let me find the silver lining so that I can feel better. And I want you guys to separate your feelings and your emotions from what you do, right? When I say keep on swinging, that means long after your feelings have betrayed you, okay? Long after your feelings have told you it's time to give up. Long after your brain has told you uh, that you should probably think about giving up. Long after your body gives out, right? Long after all of those things. Um, it's got to come from the heart. Got to come from the heart. And there's a reason why a lot of like operators tend to do very well with high stress situations is because they were trained in high stress situations. So if you want to look at it as whenever I talk about, hey, you earned your stripes, you earned the right to be able to do this or that, and now these kinds of deals are coming your way, you earned that. That's me telling you, hey, man, you've been through some training that has put you in situations where it's like, man, totally screwed up for you. Not that everything's going wrong or anything, but you've been in some stressful situations, some high stress situations, and you were able to navigate that, handle it, and not only handle it, but come out the other end as if not better than you were when you went in a lot of cases. So those things all apply, and none of it's failure as long as you don't give up, right? And by give up, I mean I've seen people take breaks. I've seen it all the time. I've seen where people will join uh, and spectate for months and months, and then decide to do something because maybe the time wasn't right. I call it popcorn. You know, some people are just like popcorn. Some people are ready to pop right now. Some need a few minutes and some more heat and some more pressure. In other words, different life scenarios and situations for everybody. And then some never pop, right? And when you pop popcorn, some kernels never pop, right? But the majority of them do, right? So it's up to you whether you decide to pop or not, right? I can't really control that or when. You can. That's kind of my point, and that's also why I say don't ever give up, right? Don't ever give up. That's the failure, right? You got to keep on swinging, detach yourself. Um, Maybe that's why I get the way I get in my state in terms of when I get to this point, if I get angry, not like again outwardly angry at people, I definitely don't expect any bullshit from anybody on those days of all days. And it seems to be, it's so funny. On my worst days, that's when the bullshitters come out of the fucking woodwork. Let me tell you, my God, it's crazy, but it's true, and I'm sure you know the feeling. You've been there, done that. Um, but how do you deal with it, right? And some people might not approve of how I deal with it, but I do my best to do what I would normally do and not overreact. It may take me a little longer to process some of that stuff just to make sure that I do that right. And I say right, not perfect, but do well by that person or do well by a bullshitter. Send them on their bullshitting way, out of my way, so that I can get done what I need to get done. But my tolerance for that kind of stuff repeatedly is very low, and it'll get to the point where, because I'm an introvert, I'll just shut down stuff and distractions, or like I've got my cell phone. You always keep your cell phone nearby, or most people do. I'll tell you right now, the way today's going, I'm about ready to throw this fucking thing across the room, and I don't mean like to break it. I mean I'm about to go toss it somewhere and put it on complete. Well, it's on vibrate right now, but turn it off. Turn the fucker off, and then all social media, all that kind of stuff. So that, and if stuff still finds its way in, I'm just gonna start posting signs, that maybe they don't say fuck off, but they say not today, right? Go away, not today, right? And everybody should be able to have those days and have that space, right, where they can say that, and people honor it. Even the closest ones, the ones you love the most, and all that. They need to be able to honor things like that. And it's not like you're doing that every day. You shouldn't be. But when those days happen, you need that kind of space. You need to be able to sit there and take a beat and process things. You may not come out of it shining, but you're going to come out of it swinging. And that's kind of my point. Separate the emotions from it. Recognize failure for what it actually is. Recognize your feelings and your emotions for what they actually are, and separate how you feel from what you do. Do not use how you feel to dictate what you do or don't do for the day. Because I'll tell you right now, if there was ever a time for me to swing harder, it would be because of how I'm feeling right now. Not less, harder, twice as hard, twice as much. I'm going to punch. I'm going to throw swing. I'm going to throw punches. I'm going to swing, swing, swing. Because I know that, well, first off, if I'm going to cause trouble for myself or break things more than I fix them, might as well. Let's go ahead and get it over with and get shit to where I can fix it back to where it's unbreakable at that point or more unbreakable than it was previously. Things like that. Um, but that only comes from a place of just doubling down, right? And I'm gonna feel not great while I'm doing all that, but I don't care. I don't care because the emotions are not going to be tied to that. So hopefully that makes sense on the failure stuff, um, how we actually perceive it, how to process that, and I swear, man, you couldn't script this shit better. Just of all days for it to land on the day where I'm talking about failure, I guess it does work out to everybody else's benefit. So that I'm grateful for. Again, I'm grateful for the call and to be able to share this with you. So you see, okay, man, he uh he really is human. He's having a bad day. Been there. You know, maybe even a trigger for some of you. You're like, oh shit, he's having a bad day. Let me walk away. No, learn something from it. Learn about how to process and everything, and learn what to be grateful for. Um, okay, let me grab the link. Again, you guys are gonna have to work with what you got here. All right, I'm gonna paste that into the group. So now there is a live Zoom link that you can join. Ask questions live, no problem. Do not be afraid. I am not going to rip your head off. I'd like to throw that disclaimer out there. Don't bring any bullshit my way. Don't talk to me about how you're not following the training that I teach, because I swear to God, I'll probably just kick you off the damn call. Like that. That is where I am at with people that would come to me with something like that. Now you're following the training. You got questions. I'll screen share. We'll fix that shit, and I will knock it out of the park for you every time. You got questions about client acquisition. Here I am, right? Um, if you don't want to come into the Zoom, totally okay with that. Maybe you're just shy, or more shy than more of an introvert than maybe I am. Cool. Ask away in the comments. Maybe your question doesn't require you, or you don't want to take the time to come into the live Zoom room. Ask away in the comments, okay? I've got David here. That's right, David. You had a question about. I'm letting you into the room now. You had a question about ClickFunnels, right, from yesterday. Hey, David. Hello?
Hey, can you hear
Hey,
me?
I can. You had a question about ClickFunnels from yesterday, right? Was that right?
I did, but I got that one handled. So
Oh, well,
I
well,
think
what was it? What was it? I'm just curious.
I bought a. I wanted my root domain to show up as the first page of the funnel, and I was having
Oh,
an issue. And the instructions that were inside ClickFunnel weren't quite correct. And
right.
the first CSR that I spoke with, he didn't really have a clue. So I was just kind of on late. I just kind of kept pinging them until I got somebody that knew exactly what I was trying to do, and she was finally able to help me.
Good. Good. So what's up today?
So I've got four questions. One,
Okay.
the Google Doc that you show in the COVID-19 videos for setting up the agency, I can't find that. Is that someplace?
The Google Doc that I show, which doc?
The Google sheet
Oh, the
where you
sheet, the tracking sheet? Yeah, the tracking sheet is on my to-do list. Yeah, that's not been released yet. Yeah, you're not missing it. But
Okay.
I will update that. It's part of the so there's some documentation that I'm wanting to update. Um, Well, let me back up. Let me back up and punt. So again, man, one of those days. So first priority is to um, get the Google Ads API training video up. Got to finish that. Then I move on to documentation for updates for the COVID Client Challenge, which include the things like the Google Sheet. Then I move to the documentation for the mentorship because there's some things that over there that I need to have added to some of those live sessions I did over there, specifically in the scaling arena, right? Once I have those two documentation sets done from, it's not a lot either, it's maybe a couple hours of work. So with those things done, then I can move to documentation for the my Prime updates. I've got some Ring Ads Prime updates to post that I just haven't gotten done. Then I'm gonna actually do some more updates, which is me, what I was telling you about me going after clients for the example agency. It's not even an example agency. It's not a test agency. What's a good name for that? Um, uh, it's just the over the shoulder series. I don't know how to say it really, other than to say I'm building an agency just to show that it can be built, how it can be built, how quickly, all that kind of stuff. And it's been a while since I've done any updates on that, but I want to do some more updates on that while I'm in December Dash with you guys so that you can see me on the phone closing clients um, like you guys are, right? Um, so I'll be doing the same processes, showing you how that works and all that. Kind of like the COVID Client Challenge because that's the start of the Prime training. Once those updates are started back up, then it goes into finishing out the documentation for the training updates that I have, which I'm about halfway through. Actually, hold on. I think I'm a little over halfway through on that. I'd have to find the. I'd have to find them. I'm a little over halfway through on the documentation for the main training sets, which would include things like everything that I covered over the shoulder in COVID Client Challenge. So building the agency out, but all of it's going to be in a step-by-step format type of training video series. Then there's going to be the call ad campaigns, not just creation, but vertical selection, everything from start to finish, optimization, advanced optimization, all that kind of stuff is going to be in that. Um, the client acquisition methods, there's some new ones that I want to update the training with. So there's things that basically towards the end of this month that I'll be able to get into that and continue to update the training that will include a lot of that. However, what you're asking for on the sheets is actually, because it's so simple, it's one of the things that's higher up on my list. And it's kind of where I left off, if that makes sense, almost where I left off. So it's coming.
That's no problem. I'm just kind of going through everything at a rapid pace, and I'm just wanted to make sure that I'm not missing anything.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, so the other question that I have for you is,
said you had 4, right?
Yes.
Excuse me.
So
Okay.
one of the other questions that I have for you is, so in my agency, I use G Suite already, and I already had Mailgun tied to actually tied to a couple of other accounts. So I didn't quite understand. So you set up a separate G Suite account that's different from your niche agency website.
Okay, so G Suite,
or
G Suite and Mailgun are used for two different things. G Suite is gonna and the yet another mail merge. That's what we use for prospecting emails, getting clients. Mailgun is for ring ads. It's a direct API connection, so it's like once you have a client, all the notifications that are emailed to them, such as login email, notification of a call via email that they get, a missed call that they get via email, all that kind of stuff, that's all done through Mailgun.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So there's
Yeah.
two different. So I use the G Suite platform because it's really good for inboxing, obviously, for that. Now with Mailgun, if you use it for other accounts, you said you can set up a second or a third or a fourth or fifth server pretty easily. Just if you follow the steps in the API video, it'll be pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Okay. And then the Google scraper.
Google Maps contact extractor.
Yes.
Okay.
That's used for putting together your own list for prospecting.
You can use that for two different things. That would be the first, right? Is pulling together a prospect list for yourself based on major metro areas and the vertical you're in that you're targeting. The second thing you can use it for is depending on whether your clients are willing to take calls from competitors. In other words, there's a lot of calls that can come in for people typing in their competitor's name locally, and if they want those calls, which they should, but sometimes you have clients that just aren't up for that. Um, hey, is this ABC Plumbing? No, this is XYZ Plumbing, but we do plumbing and we do a great job. How can I help you? Now, some of those are going to be people that are looking for ABC Plumbing because they already have a job with them, or they already got somebody that they're doing business with over there or whatever, or that they don't want XYZ because they want ABC. But there's several of those calls that are going to come through that are going to be, okay, well, yeah, sure. I got a plumbing company on the phone. Might as well talk to them, even though I was looking for ABC. It just happens to be the first company that I thought of, not the one I was necessarily dead set on, right? So clients, XYZ in that case, may not want calls from ABC. And one of the best ways to either target or not target phone calls from competitors is by pulling a Google Maps contact extractor list. It pulls all the local competitors in the area, and you can do one of two things with it: target it as your keywords, or on the back end, you can put it inside your negatives so that they don't show up so that your ads don't show up for any of your competitor searches, right? Which is nice. That means your client's not going to get those calls. Now, I have seen. Sorry, Robert, I got you. You're coming into the room. Please make sure you're muted. Um, I did. Let me lose my train of thought, but that's okay. The Oh, so when you start with clients that sometimes it's a good idea to start with clients at that level of no competitor calls, right? Just run that quick Google Maps contact extractor. And then as the campaign gets dialed in on call quality, and you've had a few weeks or maybe even a month or two of speaking to your client once a week, right? Like I talk about, and you have these conversations with them and you explain to them, hey, I've got even more calls, and like when you're ready, let me know. I'll flip the switch, right? We talk about the finger, flip the switch. Okay. And part of that's going to be it's calls for competitors. So you can kind of open them up to it over time where it's like, listen, these calls are a lot of them are from people that I've got that I can give you right now today are coming in for people that are looking for ABC, but not all of them are looking for ABC because they currently have business with ABC. They're looking for ABC because they're the bigger brand in your town, or because they've been around 30 years longer, or things like that, or they're just more popular. But that doesn't mean that they wouldn't consider talking to you. It's all about, Mr. XYZ client, how you answer the phone. Now, I, David Bennett, will be more than happy to teach you or your staff, whoever's answering the phone, right? How to not only handle those calls, but land some business out of those calls, which means more money for you at the end of the day. And you have those kind of conversations, right, where you expand their business. Okay, so that's a good plan. Ultimately, I'll tell you this, and this is a personal preference. So the difference between when I say, hey, this is how I recommend you do things versus so a recommendation, I guess, versus a personal preference. I like to make sure that I'm fully transparent, that one is pretty much required, at least to see good results. One is optional. Okay. So personal preference is totally up to you. That's optional. If I say, hey, I'm making a recommendation to use this platform or this service or this template, and you get the idea. Okay. So that's something you want to do. Personal preference is not taking clients that insist, maybe initially fine, but clients that continue to insist on, at least not taking calls from those competitor searches, is a client that to me is a red flag. In almost all cases, it's always been the case where most of those clients, the reason they don't want those kinds of calls is because they know they suck on the phone, and they don't have any interest in getting any better. They're okay with the status quo. And guys like you and me, right? Like Art, Robert, everybody, we're looking to grow a business, and the only way we can grow a business, really, at a certain point, is to have a client that's willing to grow their business with us, right? So it's kind of like okay, you can get clients, and that's one way to grow. but those clients can also grow their business and get bigger with you. So, and for every client that happens with, they make more money anyway. So that's good for them. But anybody that's not open to making more money is, I mean, that should be a red flag for anybody. So again, that's a personal preference. It's not someone that I would tend to do business with, usually out of the gate. If they're not at least throwing me a sign or a signal that, well, maybe I'll give it another shot because I didn't have what you're telling me. You know what I mean? Um, and as long as I hear that, then no more red flag, right? They're open to the idea, and when I deliver the good calls, then they're really going to be open, right? And have those conversations with them. So that's kind of um, where I come out on it. But again, that part is personal preference. It's totally up to you whether you um, run those competitor calls to them initially or later or at all, right? Totally up to, and whether you take them as a client based on that, but definitely a red flag, something you want to look out for, okay?
Okay. And I've got just one more thing, and then I'll just share something with you real quick.
Sure.
My next question is, so I'm going to start doing my market research calls this afternoon.
Okay.
Do you recommend, I mean, I'm in a major metro, so do you recommend just, Googling folks in my local, in
Spread it
my
out.
town here,
Spread
or
it
do you
out.
want,
Spread it out. Start in Houston, sure, because I mean that's going to
okay,
make you feel good, comfortable, right? You know the area very well, but then start in other cities across the country. So do one or two on the West Coast, one or two on the East Coast, one or two in the South, one in Texas on top of that would equate to Southwest slash. Well, it depends on which part of Texas. So Houston's going to be more like the South.
more
Um,
like San Antonio?
well, San Antonio is going to be Southwest more in terms of feel, right? Because it's hot as balls down there and everything. Okay, so there's that, uh, which is Southwest, but you already got the West covered, West Coast covered. I would go Midwest. I'd look at like maybe make some calls in and around the Chicago area, Atlanta, Miami, or Jacksonville, somewhere in Florida. That's a big ass city. Um, Look around Houston, of course. Look at Las Vegas. Wouldn't be a bad idea. It's a desert, yes, but it is very West Coast here. Somewhere in California, preferably SoCal. So think outside of LA. You don't actually have to target LA, but think outside of LA. Think San Diego. Um, Look at we already covered the Midwest, right? Yeah, so Pacific Northwest would be a good idea, like Seattle. Stay away from Oregon right now. A lot of people that are being ignorant up there. Not a good time for them, especially in Portland, to be more specific. But stay away from them for now. But Seattle, not a bad idea. Keep in mind, places like Seattle and there's others in Cali, their cost of living is close to double, if not double, in a lot of cases than even here in Vegas. And our cost of living's gone up, but over the last several years. But Seattle's still almost double what it is here, which is crazy if you think about it. Which means those calls are going to cost more. They're going to pull more because everything up there costs more, not just the cost of milk and gas, right? It's going to be and bread and eggs. It's going to be everything across the board. And one of the things I like to do, you ever see those cost of living uh, sites, the calculator sites, estimator sites? Use
Yes.
that and see if you can find some for cities in the U.S. and it'll give you a good perspective whether you live here or not. Um, Most of us that do live here, this is for everybody listening in. There's a lot of people that are outside the U.S. So that's helpful because a lot of people, even that live in the United States, like for example, you're in Houston. I don't know what it costs for gas there right now, right? And I live in the States. I've been to Houston several times though, right? And but that doesn't mean I have a good, if that makes sense, it doesn't mean I have a good handle on what cost of living is like there. And it can change too, right? It's not something that
Right.
stays stagnant. So uh, that's, I would spread it out, 5 to 10 cities. You're going to find two or three in each, and there's your 20 calls or 20 decision makers slash managers, right? Office managers or decision makers. And yeah, you're going to pull a lot of good information from that, and it's going to be spread across the board. It's more diversified, and that helps a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were talking about state change. I've dropped something in the Zoom chat for you. I don't have any connection to this lady, but I don't know if you meditate or not. But she teaches a form of meditation that I find very helpful.
Okay.
It's not as cultish as transcendental meditation,
Okay.
which if you get into some of those groups, it can things get weird real fast, in my opinion. But she teaches a very gentle form of meditation that I found is very good for me. I
Okay.
feel like it's almost like a shower for my brain when I do it the right way.
Got it.
So that's just something. And I just want to. I mean, you're an adult. You don't need an attaboy from me, but you are having and have had an effect on a lot of people's lives. And so even when you are having a bad day, if you can take a moment and just reflect on that, hopefully that will give you some peace and some encouragement.
These
And I thank you
calls,
for your time.
yeah, I appreciate that, David. And these calls do exactly that for sure. Um, More engagement, not less, I think is better, whether I'm comfortable with it or not. I need to learn to get more comfortable with it, is what I'm thinking, because they do help. They really do. And I appreciate you and everybody else as well. I'm glad you're able to figure out your challenge. That's good. That shows me you really are busting through walls. That's good. Keep doing what you're doing. Do you're set for the market research with the script and everything? You've got a copy of that and all that?
Yes, yes, I found
Okay.
all those things. I've got my
Okay.
got my
Okay. I believe you. I believe you. All right, good. So you're set. Well, if you run into any challenges, let me know. Here's the one thing I will tell you on market research calls that help. Really two things. There's more to it than this, but these are the two main things you should focus on. Emphasize at least twice, and when I say emphasize that you are not there to sell anything, right? And say it almost like you've heard somebody say that to you 1,000 times today. Are you trying to sell me something? No, I am not trying to sell you something. You don't have to say it exasperated, but you definitely want to like lay it out crystal fucking clear so they can hear you. That way they catch that twice and they're like, okay, he hasn't said anything about, yeah, it's only $39.99 a month or whatever the telemarketers say these days. He's not trying to sell me. He's asking genuine questions. He understands some things about the industry, at least based on the language he's using, which is important. Each call that you do will build on the last in terms of information. So if you start with a good Google search and set of information, then that you use that and leverage some of those words that you learn from your market in with your first call. You take the knowledge gained from your first call plus that, and it snowballs. Positive effect. Okay, to where the last 10 calls you have are going to be some of the best calls you've ever had with any business owner. You couldn't get this kind of information at a cocktail party full of business owners. That kind of level of it's instead of it's a, oh, what do you do, and stiff upper lip and all that shit. Instead of in all those formalities and things that go on with those parties, which again, I'm not judging those parties or people that go to them, just not for me, right? I want to get to the point, to the facts. Tell me what's going on in the business, what keeps you up at night, what what's it like out there right now for you, uh, pre-COVID, post-COVID, is it on its way back? There's so much stuff that you could pull from a business owner right now to where, especially when you ask questions like that along those lines, they're going to be like, man, not only does he want to know, he really cares, and it sounds like he's got a good product. Uh, you going to sell to me? Like, and they're going to ask you. So this brings me to my second point. Emphasize you don't have anything for sale. Then they're going to ask you. I guarantee you, you're going to get people. I've seen people get clients from market research, but that's not your focus, right? You come back to them. Even if you need to be detached on that side. Like even if you never come back to these people ever again, or even if they never materialize into a deal, you don't count them like they're, poker chips or whatever. They're not collectibles. You're there to get the data, the market research, and get out, get in, get out on that one, and be true to your word. Really, if anything, it's a good practice, which I don't think you're going to have any problem with. I'm just saying that for everybody else listening too, like because there are people that are tempted to because it's so easy and it comes so natural, and they're asking for it. It's like, well, William, they were asking for it, and I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm telling you, they're gonna don't sell them anyway. Tell them you'll come back to them. Give me 2 weeks. Let me get shit together. 2 weeks is the beginning of the year anyway. I'll come back to you and we'll knock this shit out of the park together. But right now, today, I told you I wasn't selling you anything. I'm going to keep my word to you. I appreciate the information though. And if you happen to think of anything else, let me know because it's going to help me, which means I can get back to you faster, right? That's now you've incentivized more of what you're looking for, which is which is the market research, which again helps you in your actual sales calls when you start those up. And you still reserve the right to follow up with those guys that you talk to that express that kind of interest or that level of interest and get them as clients without sacrificing any of your integrity, you know, and starting off on the right foot with your business. So again, that's more for everybody, not specifically for you, David. Okay, it's for kind of an everybody thing on that. But yeah, man, I'm excited. You're at the market research stage. That's there's always a lot of what I don't know. I'm not a big reality TV fan. I don't watch like drama and all the extra. And also might contribute to why I get so frustrated because I don't like the drama, even though frustration breeds drama. I get that. But maybe it's because I'm frustrated because of the drama that's needless. And so I'm not a big fan of that. However, if I were to equate market research calls to uh, real world experiences and what you learn, some of that stuff is bombshell kind of stuff like, oh, I didn't know that, you know, plot twists. So I'm a big movie buff. I'm more of a plot twist kind of guy. Oh, I didn't see that fucking coming. Wow, that's awesome. I love it. And it gives you that thrill and excitement of, wow, my market has actually, I didn't even think about that and this and that. And now you go off on that and run that out, right? To where you understand everything. And then you bring that to the next conversation and then it's the next bombshell and the next one and the next one because let me tell you something, when you talk their language and you've got them confused at that point where it's I'm sorry David, are you an HVAC company? Like who am I talking to again? When they're at that point where they can't tell you from your surroundings, like you got that kind of camo going on, they're your job is done. I'm not saying like stop working, still do what you need to do, but you're as good as in like Flynn when it comes to that for your sales calls. And good job because you've done what's required to earn your way, right? So good questions. I appreciate you. Keep working. Um, I'll see you here tomorrow. And yeah, I got to go get out of this snowball. Get out of the way of the snowball here.
All right. Have a great day.
You too, bud. Who do we got? Art's on. Robert as well.
Hello.
Hey, Art.
This will be real quick, and I'm
Okay.
not sure if it's going to be I don't know. So ring ads,
Okay.
yeah, okay. So in ring ads, one of the campaigns, like money just seemed to have disappeared, and I don't know if I'm just missing it or.
Okay. What do you mean
So I wanted to.
disappeared?
Yeah, I just want to share my screen real quick.
Let's start there.
Yeah. Share screen. Share whole screen. Okay, this one. Okay. Okay, you can see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so companies. So it's this one here.
Yeah.
This one right here, the Richmond.
I see it.
And so this is the amount that he has.
Okay.
He originally started with my normal deposit, and I can go here. Let's see, where's his? Okay, Evergreen. Yeah. So that's what he started with.
Yep.
And I sent him 2 calls that were not good, so I refunded him. Originally, it showed it was like 180. Let me find him again. See if I click on. Oh yeah, see. So life of his account, he's only got that many.
Yep.
And then if I think I can just and then. Yeah,
what are you trying
if
to
I click on it?
Yeah. What are you trying to show me here?
I guess ultimately I'm wondering why. Okay, it's loading. Okay, so I've only sent 2 calls. They've been refunded.
Right.
But why is he not back at his 300 balance?
I don't
Because
know.
originally, before I refunded it, it was at 180. And then I'm like, wow, he spent 180 already. And so then I jumped in there and okay, these were bad. I returned it, but now it shows he's at 240. I'm like, I haven't sent him anything else. He should be at the full thing unless I'm totally missing something. And I haven't seen it on anyone else, but yeah, this one is just really weird.
I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, it's either something you have in your settings, or I mean, it's an easy fix, whatever it is. Uh, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, as far as I know, the the the
Yeah.
credit system, dispute system works just fine. Like, so you're gonna have to show me more than that.
Okay. Where? Okay. Okay. I guess so. I mean, here he just paid this 300 was put into his account.
Invoices is not going to have anything to do with anything. You can stop going to invoices. That's not going to have anything to do with price tea in China. You can set anything
Okay.
you want to in the wallet amount, right? So that this screen, please don't ever show me this again. Let's go to
Okay.
something else.
Okay. Okay. So then, okay. Okay, that's what he started with. I've only sent him 2 calls
Show me
here.
the edit screen of this company.
Okay.
No, not of
Is
the
it over?
campaign, of the company.
Oh, company. Okay.
Hmm. Okay. Show me the campaign now.
Okay. Campaign.
Scroll down just a bit. Charge for repeat calls is on. I would turn that off if I were you.
Well, I did have it turned off originally. The reason is I turned it back on is because one time the first call was dropped. Second call they called back and it was a close, and then I refunded the first sale. It was just it messed it up.
Okay.
So
I would turn it off
okay, fair
and
enough.
don't ever run a campaign without that on, off.
Okay,
Don't ever run it with on, ever, 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 right?
okay, okay,
Because the calls are going to go through if somebody calls back, right?
right, yeah,
And you can adjust manually what you just talked about. That's a non-issue, man. You don't ever want to charge for repeat calls. And I'm willing to bet that what does your ad data say over on the ad account? Is it still 2 calls for this guy?
yes.
Okay. And it's $30 a call. Should have only taken him down to 240. I don't understand what you're saying about the 180 thing.
Well, that's what he was originally. Okay, when I logged in originally, he was at 180, and that's when But now I checked; he's only gotten 2 calls, and I went and actually returned them to him. If I go to reports, you'll see I refunded him. So if I refunded him, he should actually be at 300, not 240.
Right, I followed the logic. What I'm saying
So
is the difference between 180 and 240 also happens to be 60. So I'm
right,
wondering if there's something going on with it's an even amount for one thing.
yeah, yeah,
So when you
'cause-
refunded it, he was already at 180 is what you're saying.
yeah. I logged in. He's at 180. These were a repeat call, and it was a bad call, so I
Okay, so
returned them
let's
both.
back up. Let's back up. When you
Okay,
logged in, he was at 180.
correct.
When you refunded the 2 calls, they refunded successfully and took him to 240.
Correct.
Okay, I don't know how the fuck you got to 180, bro. Just put $60 back in the account and keep an eye on it. I don't know what to tell you. Because what you just described to me is Ring Ad's working perfectly, and then the gap is how did he get to 180? Well, I don't fucking know, man. And if you don't know, then I don't know, right? So the only way to know is going to be to keep an eye on it. Now, maybe it's something that's not working right, but I highly doubt it. And even if it is, it's going to be something that's going to be an easy fix. but it's also something that's not going to keep you from doing what you need to do, right? So I wouldn't worry about it in terms of, I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying it's not something I would freak out about. It's something I would fix, keep an eye on, and maybe lead with that next time. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
hey, I started an account. Here's the easy way to say this. I got a client for $300, which I've seen all your deposits, so I'm not completely in the dark on that, right? Um,
Yeah.
I started off, he's got 2 calls in, but when I go log in the next day or whatever, instead of seeing 240, I see 180. I go and refund the calls. That works, which you didn't say any of this, by the way. And the refunds work, but now he's back up to 240 from 180, not 300 where he should be. What's going on? And I'm going to say the same thing I just told you, which is keep an eye on it. I don't know. The refunds are obviously working. Why he went from 180 to 300? Are you doing anything differently on the currency settings? Like your currency is set to US dollars. Is his set to US dollars?
Yes.
Okay, so that's not the issue. Um, Shit, man, I don't know what to tell you other than to tell you, because 180 that's 4 calls, no test calls. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you because um, I don't have any other information than you do on.
Yeah. Okay.
So just credit the account $60 and keep an eye on it.
So
You
in
know,
this, just hit refund and
but
then
please don't
plus
scare the
60.
shit out of me again and tell me the fucking refund ain't working when it's fucking working. Jesus Christ, man. Give somebody a goddamn heart attack. I just told you I'm not having a great day. What's wrong with you? Damn.
Ta-da, back at 300. Okay.
So keep an eye on it. I do want to know. Uh, his campaigns are running,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what we'll do. Keep an eye on it. Keep me posted, and then maybe look at it. I don't know, a couple times a day,
hmm
and see when. Are you signed up for notifications for when he gets calls, like to your stuff?
No, because he's using it.
You can use it too. You can add multiple emails. You know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Checking.
Yeah.
Let's see. Edit.
If you go into the campaign, you can actually click on the
Oh, the
plus button.
plus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like we do that not just for you, but um, for what if he has 5 staff members answering the phones? They all need to know about the
True.
call, right?
True. True. Good point.
Or
Okay.
or just one staff person answering the phone. He needs to know that his staff got at least 3 calls today, as an example. And if that staff doesn't mention anything about those calls, well, what the fuck's up, right? They need to be on it. Same as you do. But in this case, it's going to help because now you can keep tabs on when a call comes through, go in, check the balance, and be like, okay, here's what's actually happening. And then I
Yeah.
can go, oh, well, that shouldn't be happening that way. Because I've got a hunch maybe it sounds like maybe there's some kind of double charging going on, and I'm not sure why that's happening, but I can have somebody look into it. But I don't want to have somebody look into it if it's not if it's an error or something that's not human error, not software. And we don't have those kinds of errors really. We
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
have, don't get me wrong, nothing's perfect, but this thing works very, very well and has never had these kind of issues from the start. So
Yeah.
again, keep an eye on it. Uh, the refund process is working. That's the most important thing that I'm taking away from this. Keep an eye on it though, and we'll meet back in the middle on it. Um, and please
Perfect.
don't tell me the refund stuff doesn't work.
And actually, one thing with the refunds I did notice that I don't know if it's probably an oversight.
Shoot.
So in this case, on the main report screen, I saw it was a bad call, but he also raised a dispute on it. So it was also in the disputes section and on the
Hmm.
reports like normal. I returned it to him on the reports without going to the disputes because I was like, oh, it's bad. Okay, here it is. And then it was still in the disputes. I either had to deny it or accept it. And then accepting it, I couldn't say, oh, accept it 0. So I don't know,
Okay.
even though it's all the same call, you know what
So
I
what
mean?
you just described would be why there's double charges then.
That was a different client.
Different client. For two disputes?
No, Cole, or yeah, the guy that I just showed you, he never raised the dispute. I
Okay.
just happened to go in there and saw it and got rid of it. This was like last week or something
Okay.
when I did it through the report screen, just right click and refund, enter the amount, it's done. And then he also raised a dispute on it, I guess somehow before, and then it was in the dispute section as well. Even though it was all the same call, it's like, why is it still wanting me to acknowledge? Like, it's been refunded on the report screen. I see it's refunded. Why do I still have to either deny it or accept it? And if I accept it, I could not say accept, but 0 credit. I had to enter a dollar amount. So I ended up just undoing everything, removing the credit and accepting his dispute back to the credit. So it balanced it out, but I felt that it's one call and you have to go to the dispute to am I making any sense?
Kind of. I mean, you have two functions for filing a dispute. They can file, or you can not file a dispute. You can credit their account back. And you're saying somehow they did that at the same time you were doing it?
Yeah. So he raised the dispute, and then I was on the report screen, and also, oh, it's a bad call. I credit him via reports, so it's still in the disputes because he raised it, and then I couldn't, like, if I accepted it again, I'd have to give him another 30. So I've given him double the money because I've credited it already on the main reports, and it showed it was credited, but it was still in the disputes. Like, you need to acknowledge, you need to do something with this, and I felt declining it. Then I have to explain to the client, like, okay, why did I decline it? So.
I got
I
you.
didn't, but I did. So
Okay.
I don't know. I felt that was just a little funny because it's all one call. If I did it from the reports, I would think it should. Okay,
It should pull from
yeah,
that.
it's accepted.
Do you
Dispute closed.
when that pops up again, document it for me, send it over, and I'll send it to development to take a look at.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm taking notes.
But other than that, everything's pretty good.
It's not lining up on refund option and reports.
Oh, and then another funny thing I noticed. I think it's just visual on the invoices, but when you're adding the campaign or company and the billing information, and then that gets applied to the invoice, you have the city and state are swapped.
What is that about invoices? Sorry.
The city and state are swapped.
Yeah, we're working on. I told you about the updates to the invoices and stuff. We're going to make them a lot better than they are. There's a ton of notes
Okay.
I've taken on that.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about that much either.
Yeah, no, that's nothing. But that's nothing. But yeah, cool. Other than that, everything great. Oh, and I got client number 13.
I did see something about number 12, so you're at 13 now. Cool. Did you send in the?
Oh, my bad. Number 12. Number 12. You're right. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay.
No, number 13.
Well, it's a good problem to have, Art. Not being able to keep good track of how many you actually have closed this month. That's good. That's a good problem to have, brother. It's funny, but also good. Did you send in the call recording yet?
Of course.
Okay, just asking. I'm trying to do a refresh here real quick on the screen, so I can credit you the points while we're on the call. Yep, I see it. Okay, and
Yeah, he was a straight lay
pending
down
post
sale.
Lay down.
Yeah, it was amazing. I loved it. That's the easiest sale I've ever had.
They happen, and look how many you had to have before that happened. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They do happen, though.
Oh yeah, they are rare, but yeah, I used to do door-to-door sales, same things. Once in a while, oh, what are you? Oh, I want it right now. Sign me up.
Exactly.
Okay, let's do it. But yeah, definitely not the norm.
Nothing wrong with it though. 12 client count, 1,300 points total, 3,400 revenue total. Cool. Yep, I got you on the points. And I took notes on what we're keeping an eye out for, as
Okay.
well as the dispute challenge. You said the dispute should update. Next time, try this. Try refreshing the screen. Like just hit the
I did do that
refresh.
actually.
You did,
I
and
hit
it's
the
still,
F5 and Control F5, like clear cache, everything. Yeah.
huh? Yeah, it shouldn't be happening. So I mean, it'd be nice to be able to have that documented though. Like anytime
I
you
mean, I
have any
can
issues,
recreate
document.
it on the demo account.
Do something like that then, and please and document it so that I can send that in.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
and then we'll keep an eye on the campaign or the what's going on with the billing there for those calls. But the refunding's working. That's not the problem. So if it took it down to 180, it sounds like it's double billing, um, or some kind of double billings going on, and that doesn't make sense. So that's why I said we got to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I was thinking about logging into Twilio and see if a call was executed, but somehow dropped before ring it. Like, I don't know, because yeah, something. I'm thinking it's on my end because it's not on any other campaign, and if it's a bug, I would think I would see it on
You
across the
would.
board, and I
You
don't.
would in most
Yeah,
cases. Not all cases, but in most cases you will see a bug consistently. Thing about bugs though is sometimes they are inconsistent. I will say that.
yeah,
Uh, but again, this is one that just I don't understand, and so there's something that's going on. But I'll tell you this, Art, if you can find a way to keep an eye on it, and if you can find a way to recreate that, or if it recreates itself, document it, because then it's like, okay, we can get to the bottom of what's causing it, and if it's something we need to fix, we fix. But if it's something that is just maybe was set up differently, or something going on in the background, or whatever it is, then at least
yeah.
we're in the know, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So that's uh, that's what I say.
Cool, cool. So that's all I had.
All right, cool. Robert, and good job on your.
Hey, William, can you hear me?
I can. Good job, Art,
Oh,
on your
cool.
clients, by the way. Go ahead, Robert. I was just saying to Art, good job.
Oh, I just want to say thanks, first off, because if it wasn't for the daily streams, I probably would have taken a break or quit or, you know, so huge. Yeah, it really helps. It
Is
really
this
helps.
Robert Cornick?
Yeah.
Awesome. This is the first time I think we've spoken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, I feel like I should have by now. So I'm kind of like not, not like that. I feel like a failure, but I feel like I could be doing better. You know what I mean? So it's
We all
like,
do, man. We all do. But keep
yeah.
swinging. Don't let your feelings, you know, um, govern what you do and don't do. Fuck that. You know. I
I
mean, if
made
this is, go ahead.
yeah, I made a like a template for the phones. I don't know if you want to take a look at it. I could send you a link because
Template for the
I don't want to post it
phones.
if you, yeah, like I'll just send it to you. But yeah, let's see, share. Let me know if you could see that.
Where am I looking?
Facebook Messenger.
Messenger? No, I don't do Messenger, man. You're gonna have to either
Maybe
send it via chat on Zoom, or tell me what it is that you're sending me first off.
it's like, remember, someone asked just in this call. Someone asked for like a phone tracking template, like when you're prospecting.
Oh, no. They were asking for the tracking template that I used initially in COVID Client Challenge, not a phone tracking.
Oh, I see.
No. But you're
I'll
saying
post it maybe.
what you're saying is you've made a tracking template for when you're on the phone
Yeah.
to track things like decision makers spoken to, pitches made, answers, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. I
Got it.
posted it in the do you see it? It's in the
I don't. Hold on, let me go look.
Ring as group chat. I don't want to
chat.
post it in the group because maybe I'm doing something wrong, and
I wouldn't
you
say
know
you're
you
doing
could
something
probably edit
wrong.
it.
I don't know what it is, and you just explained kind of what it is. I don't see. Hold on, I'm scrolling. I see it now. It's a Google Doc. Let me take a look. See what you got here, man. I'll go over to the screen so everybody else can see it. See if this is something. What is this? So name, phone number, qualified, yes, pitch, close, objections. Needs to ask wife. This is not bad. Here's the thing. When it comes to this, where's the scroller? There's no scrolling? I can't scroll. Okay.
I
So
think
it
you could
goes
just
to
scroll down.
okay, so it only goes over to L.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you sheet? Control plus click on column 2 and 3, far left, right click on it. Plus formatting will work. Okay, I don't understand
It's just
that, but
to clear out the sample.
oh, to clear out the sample data. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing that it's not a bad sheet by any means. Here's where I would here's where my reservations are. The reason I like to do things on by like tick marks, for example, on post-it notes, right, is because when I'm on the phone and I have a paper version of my cell script and I'm trying to focus on what the hell to say, and sometimes I even have difficulty doing that, as you can tell from today. There's I've got tonal patterns to get right. I've got message to convey, and that plus being able to just tick mark something based on where I'm at in the process is more than enough, right? Now, that doesn't mean that I don't take notes, but here's the thing. When I take notes, transferring them to a sheet like this is not a bad idea, but this is not a sheet that I would use in real time while on the phone because it's going to make me sound like one of those not flight attendants, the people at the front where the ticketing, where they used to, in the old days, print out your tickets, you check your baggage in and all that kind of stuff. They get you your flight tickets and all that. Okay. Have you flown on an airline in the, I don't know, 80s or 90s?
No, I'm 24, man. I
You're
wasn't even
24.
born.
All right. So, well, I'm 36, so I'm just barely old enough to be able to say this, but I was flying twice a year when I was 8 years old because I've come from a broken home. So here's the deal, man. There's not just videos, there's movies of people making fun of this shit where they're at a ticketing booth and you'll hear someone say, okay, and where are you headed to today, sir? And the flight attendant or whatever, and they're like, I'm headed to Houston, and you'll hear okay, and last name, and you'll hear this in the background, just right, and then
so it's like
right, and then you'll hear, where they're like, they're what could they possibly be doing on that computer? And the entire time that they're doing it, I mean, there's been comedic skits about this where it's like, and I see you've booked the first class seat, yep, and it's chicken for you, yes, okay, and then that's all you hear in the background. It's like, what the now, I'm not saying it's going to be that crazy because this is, I mean, you can barely hear that probably, but that's because it's an Apple Bluetooth keyboard, and I'm slapping the shit out of the keys. But my thing is, I don't have time to also be mindful of how noisy or not noisy my keys are on the computer. And believe it or not, you can hear things like mouse clicks. Even that mouse click, which is again, magic mouse. It's not like this is a high-tech mouse. It's not an old ass piece of shit. Same thing for the keyboard, and you can still hear that. You don't want to be that guy that sounds like you're, reserving a flight in the 80s or 90s at the baggage check. And because you know why? It makes it mostly sound impersonal, but more than anything, it's what telemarketers do because they're annotating through their software system because they have to, whereas we don't have to because we do what we need to do, what we want to do. Now, that said, transferring the information that I gather onto a sheet like this and having it up on a screen dedicated is not a bad idea by any means, because then I can sit there in between calls and type away all I want and maybe finish up typing really quick and then take the next call, right? Or maybe I'll take a bunch of notes on like a legal pad and then transfer that at the end of the day or every hour over to the sheet, right? Take 10 minutes and do that kind of thing. So, and use it as a follow-up sheet by all means, yes. Your follow-up columns, I'd add at least triple that. Like there should be 9, 10, 12 follow-up columns. And this whole yes or no thing is good for that, except for the follow-ups. Like for the sheet, the way you have it listed, I would modify that. It's not whether you've done the follow-up or not. It's about whether they answered or not. So I'd change it to like an A or NA, right? Answer, no answer. Those are important. And then also listing the follow-ups, date and times in the notes. You know what I mean? So outside of that, those are not corrections. Those are the things I would do to improve the sheet. Very small changes, if you notice. And I would use the sheet, but use it in a way that doesn't impair my ability while I'm on the phone, or have the ability to impair my my ability, or however you say that. It doesn't have the potential to take away from my my phone chops, good or bad days, doesn't matter, because this is off to the side. So it's a good thing. Just not something I would use as like while I'm on the phone. That's all. So I would maybe even go back and
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I would go back and maybe even change this to like the title. Again, this is not the perfection in me, but I'm just thinking to more accurately label this. This would be more of like a follow-up sheet. You know what I mean? Or like it's called phone performance template, so it's like someone's performance for the day. Okay. But also follow-ups more than anything. So because you have the follow-up columns here listed, right? So especially when you go in and add more of those, it's going to be like, this is really just your, hey, here's people here's people that were reached out to, successfully contacted, and people you need to follow up with. Like, so if anything, this is a good follow-up tracking sheet, I would think. Just based on what I'm seeing and everything, and it's good. I would say make those changes though, and get used to writing stuff down. It makes a big difference on how you process. It also makes a difference on your tempo and speed while you're on the phone. If you have to take a second and write something down notes wise, usually I start with a phone number of whoever I'm speaking to and then a name, and I go right into whatever notes I need to take. And then that all transfers pretty easily over to a sheet like this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, yeah, I don't want to pay more attention to the sheet than the person on the phone.
And you definitely don't want to be clacking keys and shit while they're because I'm telling you they're going to hear that.
I have like a notepad. I could just write on the notepad and then with like a pencil, and then after the calls transfer, and that should work really well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a good sheet. I mean, and a view only for everybody else that's kind of looking. I see there's a few people looking at this, which is cool. For this sheet, all you have to do is in Google Drive is make a copy. So like everybody, I know you're going to get this a lot too, Rob. So I'm trying to spare you some of the stuff that comes up from this. It's like some people just don't know how to use Drive, and that's okay. All you have to do is make a copy of it. So if you go up to, I believe it's like file, right? Make a copy. Yeah. So let me go back over. I'm going to share my screen, not on Zoom, but on the Facebook call. So if you go over to file and you click on make a copy, it actually makes a copy, and then you can add it to your Drive, right? You can add it to your to a shortcut to your Google Drive from the copy, not from this one, because it view only means I can't edit this, right? And that's fine, because I don't want to edit Rob's hard work here, right? But if I need to make it my own and do my own thing with it, then obviously I want to come in here and make a copy. And that's how you can do that. So again, file, make a copy. And then once you've got the copy popped up on your next tab over, it'll open a new tab, add it to your Drive, and you're golden, right? You should be golden from there. Cool. Yeah, man. sounds like you've got the right idea. Is there anything I can help you with? Anything you need that in order to get moving?
Okay. Well, yesterday was my first official day on the phone. I
For
just want to say
prospecting
I'm,
or market
yeah,
research or
prospecting. Like my
okay.
first day, running the dialer out,
Oh,
and
okay.
I just want to say, I'm really surprised because I started 9 a.m. Eastern. I got my first call in at 9:03,
Yeah, that's about right.
and then while I was on the phone with that guy, I got three other calls in.
Yeah.
So three other guys called. So I paused it, called them back, and that was within like 20 minutes. I got like four people to call, and it was just really good because they were all interested. They wanted to hear more. Like they were in my niche, so it wasn't like I'm calling random people. And thanks to the market research, I was able to, like, I sounded like one of them. You know what I mean? I had like the imposter syndrome before, but what I did was I talked to a bunch of them. I figured out, they have problems with I'm doing water damage, so they have problems with well, now it's not peak season.
Right.
One of the guys said he buys calls, but they do like a profit split.
Yeah.
So
There's
and he was
some
like
of them out there
complaining.
that do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was good. And also I found a Restoration Association
Yeah.
magazine. They have
Yeah.
like a quarterly,
Yeah.
and one of the articles in the magazine was something along the lines of restoration's greatest challenges. So
Nice.
that market research helps so much because now when I talk to them on the phone, it's not just like how many trucks do you have? It's like oh, so you have the scrubbers and the moisture meters, and it's like it's like you ever seen like National Geographic? There's like a photographer trying to take a picture of like some lemurs or something, and
Right.
it's like at first they run away from him, but like after like an hour they just accept him
Right.
in the group.
He's part of the
Yeah, it
environment
was.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've never done water damage anything, but just like off the market research, it's like they're like super receptive to me, and like it's just really good. Like it feels really good. The only thing is, I know I have to work on my urgency because one of the objections I got was a guy was like, "Oh, I'm the type of guy to shop around. Send me the details by email. Let me check this. Let me check that." And then another guy was like, "Well, I told you about the postpaid guy, but funny thing is, I had a follow up scheduled with him this morning,
Yeah.
and I called him, and it rang three times. It went to voicemail, and guess what I hear? This voicemail box is not set up yet. So I feel like I dodged a bullet there, honestly, because he was complaining to me about how he bought calls before and
Yeah.
he wasn't happy with the service. But if you don't have your voicemail set up, it's kind of like, what do you like? Are you even ready to get calls? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. People tend to take their past experiences and apply them to potential new experiences, even if it's not exactly the same, or maybe it's not even sometimes related. It's just what
mhm.
people tend to try to associate. It's how we process and understand things better. Um, the really interesting people in life just don't have any attachment to that idea whatsoever. They just experience to experience, even if it ends up being the exact same. They don't use that as a reason to not experience the next thing completely open. In a lot of cases, it's not. It's easier said than done, especially for Type A's. We don't like doing stuff like that. At the same time, though, we can learn to over time take calculated risks, right? Educated guesses, and get more of the results that we're after and looking for, and still experience life at least um, and be open to the things that we're afraid that we might miss initially. Um, so what I would say to that is, for the urgency, yes, but also keep in mind anybody that's saying that kind of stuff to you, send me some information, think about it, blah blah blah, shop around. Those guys are stalling you intentionally, right? They're not. In a lot of cases, not every, but in a lot of cases, they have no intention of kicking anything around. Um, you've got them right then, right there. That's when you have that conversation, 100%. So focus on that. Uh, Reassurance as well. It's not just urgency and reassurance. It's going to be big for these guys, especially because a lot of them you'll find have been burned before. Um, and I'll tell you right now, there's been people I've taught that have intentionally burned their clients. And it sucks to have to say that, but it's the truth. And I hate to see that. And I just don't want to, I don't want to see that in anybody else if I can help it. Ultimately, I can't control that, except to tell you that if you do that, obviously, then you don't really have a business. You just got something, you've just got a scam.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're going to do that. I'm just saying, be aware that these guys deal with that kind of stuff, especially in that vertical, and be aware of that and empathetic, right? Empathetic with that, and maybe even not bring it up every time, but the idea is if you sense reservation or hesitation, it's not going to hurt you to bring it up, right? And you'll see how to do that inside the sales script and all that. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that your calls are going well. Keep at it. Urgency and reassurance. Those are two big things. Yes, urgency helps 100%, but at the same time, reassurance is just as good. And I'll tell you something, in the Northeast right now, the snowstorm is still wreaking havoc, and that kind of stuff can, frozen pipes burst, all kinds of crazy shit. All that snow is going to melt at some point here soon. That's going to cause flooding. That's going to cause problems in places. You bet money on that. I told everybody I thought I had a hunch just based on how 2020 was going, not as a sarcastic comment, but legitimately just based on the weather patterns for this year that happened to coincide with the hell of a year. All the hurricanes and everything, and they were late this year. Not all of them, I'm saying they went late into the year, later than usual in the season, and now violent snowstorms. And we haven't even seen the beginning really yet of that, I don't think. So over the next couple months, it's going to be interesting, especially in your vertical, because I bet you're going to get more calls than they would normally get in the wintertime for those kinds of things. And that's good for you. So, Yep.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for the reassurance. Thanks for the help.
Yeah, man. Always.
One
using,
more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I use the Google extractor.
Yeah.
And
okay.
The way I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. I scrape from the 500K plus cities, one city at a time. Is that how you would recommend?
I mean, yeah, bigger cities are gonna, one at a time is not gonna kill you. It depends on your computer's performance, but and internet speed. No more on a great machine with gigabyte internet, so like actual fiber internet, not European fiber, right? European fiber is like 30, right? That's 30 megabytes. A gig is what we're used to for fiber over here, right? So if you've got like 300 megs or a gigabyte of transfer speed on the net, and you've got a machine that was bought within the last 6 months, 18 months at the most, run 3 to 5 cities, no more than that. Even at that size, you'll be okay. But the idea is also what happens if the program stops working, because Windows is a bitch sometimes, right? I like to do one city at a time anyway, even with super powerful machines. It just means I'll be in there more often because it's so powerful. And because I have such a fast speed of internet that I'm going to be in there more often, cycling through cities throughout the day. But that way I don't lose my data, right? And it's a per city thing, keeps it easy, segmented, all that kind of stuff, easy to segment, as opposed to 3 to 5 cities where you got to go in, sort the data, then segment it. Kind of an extra step of a pain in the ass. Not impossible or completely undoable. It's just easier to do it, I guess, one city at a time, no matter what the speed, no matter what the computer. But yeah, one city is a good rule of thumb. Sure. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I'm gonna scrape and set up my calls for 9 a.m. tomorrow. One more thing. If
Yep.
it's not too much trouble.
No, of course not.
I set my dialer for 9 a.m.
Okay.
What's it called? In reference to time zone. Do you know what I'm talking about?
In reference to time zone, yeah, which means whenever it's 9 a.m. in that time zone.
Yeah.
Got it.
Is there another time that you think is good besides their local 9 a.m. to call them at?
Yeah, mornings are good. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are the best for that vertical. Friday first half is pretty good. Sometimes you'll find they're in on Saturdays, half a day kind of a thing in the office. Um, not a bad time to run. And in the evenings is not bad either. I know I said that yesterday where, 9 to 5, yes, for any business, but 9 to 5 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the best. Afternoons on Monday are the best. Mornings on Friday are the best for obvious reasons. The weekend early checkout on the weekend and late catch up on Monday, right? From the weekend. That's why those dates are different or times are different. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for this specific vertical, in the afternoon, evening time, yeah, it's going to get pretty good. 5, 6, 7 o'clock. You can be closing deals 7, 8, 9 at night, no doubt, because some of these guys are working. Even though it gets dark early right now, they're working into the evening because their work's inside of the house in most cases, except for packing up the truck, right?
Oh, so they got to wait till the person gets home to do the work.
No. No. What I'm saying is not usually. Um, what I'm saying is so if they set up dryers, for example, right? Uh, then they leave them there and they leave them there like overnight or whatever, and they come back. And when they come back, they start doing things like the repair work and whatnot. But that doesn't have to be done only during the day. They can work into the evening, and by evening, I mean daylight, right? Daylight goes away at 4 o'clock right now, man. So that's not nighttime. It just feels like it. That's all. So their 5 or 6 o'clock is in the darkest of darks, right? Like it's dark outside when they pack up the truck for the night to leave the house, uh, especially if they're pulling out the drying equipment. So what I'm saying is when they're doing that and they're done for the day, 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, and they're headed home or they're already at home, that's a good time to catch them, 100%. And because you're calling a business, because you're calling a business, you can call till 9 p.m. local time.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Good.
And I'm not saying you should do that, but you can. And so 7 o'clock, it's not a bad time, man. Not for those guys. Early in the morning, within the legal limits, and afternoons sometimes work pretty well. Usually after lunch, and then definitely evening time is pretty good, especially Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for that vertical. But if I were you, I'd be focused on just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all day, every day, right? That kind of, if you had the ability to do that. If you don't because of a job, then yeah, set up your windows, put some strategy to it, right? Based on what I just told you, and go to town, right? And you'll find, now keep in mind, people at the end of their day, are they like super energized and happy and ready to go?
They're kind of just relieved to be done.
Relieved is one way to say it. Maybe tired is another, right? Like, I know that if there's money on the table, I'm open to it, but maybe I'm not the most fresh. Let me talk to you in the morning about it. But definitely, I want to talk to you in the morning about it. That's where most people are going to be. That's where my head goes to. Is like, right. In fact, right now, if somebody were to come to me and say, "Man, I've got this huge fucking deal of a lifetime," I'd be like, "Is there a fucking timer on it?" Good. Okay, so here's the deal. I am interested. Right now, though, I can't even clap my hands together. So let's talk tomorrow, and let's actually talk tomorrow, right? And you'll hear that I'm being sincere, and that I'm just not doing so well today or whatever. And they're going to be the same way, where it's like, man, I've had a long day. It's been a 12-hour day for me. I started at 7 a.m. That's when the daylight started or whatever. And I'm just now on my way home. I'm too tired to think. However, from what I do here, I do want to speak to you tomorrow first thing. Can you call me back? Yes. 7 a.m. work, 8 a.m. What do you, when you get your day started? Take just a few minutes. Absolutely. Okay. And then you have the conversation, right? Based on their time frames and what they're comfortable with. And they'll be fresh, and they're actually giving you not a second shot. They're giving you a good shot, right? A fair chance, because they also know that they're tired, right? So anyway.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Seriously.
You're
It's
welcome.
like, it's a huge help, man, for real.
You're welcome. Keep doing what you're doing. Come back to me, and I'll help you tweak as needed. Okay. Keep tracking
All right,
your
man. Awesome.
your phone calls and what's going on, so that way when you come back to me, you can come back to me with numbers, and I'll help you dial in. Okay.
Awesome. All right. Thank you,
Good
man.
job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good job for getting started.
Thanks.
You're not that far away from clients if you're already prospecting. Have you gotten any to the pitch yet?
Yeah, all of them actually. Let
Okay.
me tell you what happened, because
Okay.
this is why I had to switch to Verizon, because so I made
Okay.
I made 3 calls and the quality was fine. I got them all to the pitch.
Yeah, you said something
350.
about that in the comments I saw. Yeah. Sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I got them all to 350 a lead.
Uh-huh.
They were fine with that. It was just, whatever, wishy-washy, need to shop around. And then after that third call, I get the calls are just horrible. Like, it's staticky. I can't hear anything. There's no way I could sell like this. So I call one of my friends who's nearby, and the call is fine. So I'm like, is it Dialer Central? Then I call someone who's long distance. I was like, oh, my long distance sucks. So I go to Verizon right away, get a new plan. They actually gave me a $300 credit on the bill, so I don't even need to pay the bill for a couple months.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm just, the phone has to like unlock so I could put the SIM in. That should happen within like an hour or two, and then yeah, it's off to the races. And
I remember you telling me about that struggle yesterday. Yeah.
oh man, I was ready to like.
You had my day. You had my day today, right? I get it.
Yeah, when I left, like, I was on the way to Verizon. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just put the SIM in. Everything's gonna work. I'll get back to process. But no, I have to unlock the phone, and I was just losing my mind. But then I was like, okay, like, you got this far.
Right.
You bought the domain like a month ago.
Right.
Like, I started looking big picture instead, and I was like, wait a minute. This is like, I had the same meltdown when I was like, I don't know, connecting my DNS or something, and that worked out.
Everything you're saying, though, you were still swinging. That's my point. It's like you feel like you're ready to just, just kick a bunch of rocks at a wall or something. And but at the same time, you're still swinging. So that's good on you, man.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I told you might. I even said something along, if I remember right, yesterday. I was like, oh shit, he's having a hell of a day, right? And I said, that's okay, man. Keep swinging, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's so funny how shit works out. It's like, hey, universe says, hey, William, you're going to have a really not so great day, and you're going to be able to make a choice on whether you use that to teach everybody how you do, even though it makes you expose yourself and become more vulnerable, and you're not comfortable with that, but so what? Or you could just completely clam up, reschedule the session, tell everybody else in the world and universe to fuck off, and see where that takes you. I was like, I think I'm just gonna, not suffer, but I think I'm just going to stick it. I'm just gonna stick it, because I'm gonna feel this way either way I go on that one. So thank you, universe. And I'll tell you, man, at the end of the day, if nothing else comes from my day today, if for some reason I go into a coma or something and wake up tomorrow morning, okay, if nothing else came from today, except for the fact that you guys get to
learn from it.
Right. Learn from my mistakes, and learn from not even just my mistakes, but just learn from my experiences, apply it to your own, even some of you, it's like some of you got a better hold on it. Like David's like talking about meditation, and I've got apps like the Headspace app. I've got Brain FM, which is a fucking great app. I
Hmm.
use a lot of those things. And I agree, meditation does work. And I've got this website up, but my point is that wasn't my go-to. It wasn't my default. I use Brain FM for just staying in the zone and sleep. I use it
Hmm.
for sleep patterns. Outside of that, I don't really use it as meditation. But this is a perfect example of from what David gave that shows a lot of you guys have better handle on shit than I do for stuff like this, and that's good. At the same time, use this then as a reminder of when shit goes wrong, like those shows, when paper call marketing goes bad, like that should be the name of this show right now. And what do you do about it? What happens? And those are the choices we get that we have to make. That we have um, the luxury to make, I would say. And I am grateful for
Hmm.
that at the end of the day, 100%. There's no doubt about it. Um, it's just, man, sometimes, right? So I get it. If all that came from this was that people were able to just use this as a reminder or learn for themselves and take bits and pieces of it, then it was a good day, no doubt. Maybe not a great day, but definitely
Hmm.
on the good side. And shit got done, and I'm not going to stop swinging by any means. So, but people need to hear, okay, this is what it sounds like when somebody's frustrated. This is what it sounds like when, okay, you can tell he's in a different state. Um, but notice I'm still swinging. We're going on 2 hours. I mean, is that any different than any? And even though sometimes I've been struggling here over the last couple hours to string together words, literally string together words into a sentence, was I able to get my points across, guide you guys on what the next steps are, point you in the right direction, even at my worst is my point. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of learning lessons in that for everybody, for sure, including me. Um, that I'm not as bad as I'm feeling, and that the feeling should not dictate at all what I choose to do. Right? I choose to swing and keep swinging. So that said,
Hmm.
man, I guys like you, Art, uh, um, shit, David, hell, man, everybody. All right, but a lot of you are engaging, making shit happen for yourself. John Hackwood's on the board with clients. Who else is on the board with clients? Jerry's on the board with clients. I know Jerry's been working hard. Not Art. Obviously, I already said Art. Andy's working hard. Haven't heard from him in a couple days, but I know he's working at it and had some significant progress. And those are good things. Those are good things for me. Not that I only need those or use those, but we use what we got, right? And you guys doing well and pushing hard definitely makes it so that I want to show up the best I can, right? Again, maybe why I'm a little more frustrated than I should be about not being able to do that. But I'm going to give it everything I got no matter what, no matter how I feel about it. And I guess that's ultimately the lesson there. Because I know tomorrow I'm going to feel great. There's no doubt. No doubt. So. Cool, man. Did you was that it? Did you need anything else, or because I know there's a
Yeah,
bunch of
that's it.
comments and okay,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm good. I'm good with everything. Thanks, man.
okay, man. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm glad you got the phone thing sorted, and we'll be good to go. All right.
Awesome.
Let's see. Tons of comments. Let's see here. Uh, what do we got here? Trying to find where I was at. Here we go. David says I have 3 go-to state management tools: meditation, self-hypnosis, and vigorous physical activity, meaning shirt dripping with sweat, gasping for breath. It's impossible to avoid a state change from that. That's actually a good point. Fair point. And thank you for that. Appreciate that. Love on that post. Andy says, I just had 3 of them days in a row. See? Can't close yourself off, though, Andy. We love you. you're working hard. Keep doing what you're doing. Come in and course correct, and we'll get you straightened out, and get you back to what you need to be doing. Adrian Kempton Cumber, I always think I'm screwing that up, says today's question, as far as Friday afternoons and also this and next Saturday, Sunday, what times are worthwhile prospecting for the rest of December? My verticals pest control, as you know. Actually, I did not remember that. For some reason, I have this mental block about people's verticals. People I know and talk to almost unless I'm talking to them on an everyday basis or every other day basis, I usually forget their vertical. Not because I don't care or anything. It's just because I deal with so many different people in so many different verticals, if that makes sense, day to day. So I take it as okay, I'm in pest control mode now. Here's everything I've got on that, right? That's how I process. It keeps things simple and also consistent for whether I'm teaching you, my staff, or anybody, right? So for pest control, thank you for telling me that. Friday afternoons, not as great. Friday evenings, maybe. So this Friday, yeah, pretty good Friday evening. Afternoons, not as much. I know that sounds crazy, but there's going to be a gap there. Saturday's still pretty good first half of the day, no doubt. Sunday, not so much. If anything, I'd double down on Saturday, do a 4 hour in the first half of the day on Saturday, then do anything on Sunday. Unless you choose to do Sundays for follow-ups. That would be what I would use Sunday for then in that case. And I'd still do a 4 hour on Saturday if possible. And then next weekend is actually Christmas. So Friday is Christmas, Saturday is Boxing Day, right? Boxing Day is historically not really that great. It's kind of like Christmas. You can get clients, but I would use that day for prep for the next week, because again, you got 4 days next week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Thursday's New Year's Eve, right? So, which is a great day. Definitely want to make sure that's prepped for properly. Saturday's a good time to do that, and Saturday on the end of a holiday, right after a holiday, is a really great time. It's completely fucking dead and quiet out there, right? Everybody's with their families doing their thing, and maybe even you're with your family doing your thing, but you can step away into a room for a couple hours, knock the shit out of that, and get it ready for Monday through Thursday for all the way through to New Year's Eve, right? That whole blitz. If that's already done, or if it's done at that point because you did it on Christmas, like Christmas evening, or not Christmas Eve, but Christmas night, the night of Christmas, because usually kids are played out, tired, gone to bed early because they played hard from first thing in the morning, right? That whole thing. What I would say is spend your Saturday, instead of calling new prospects, doing follow-up, right? So prep and follow-up on Saturday, the Boxing Day, Saturday. Sunday, I wouldn't do anything. Prep, if anything. Study the sales script, sharpen that axe. Sharpen that axe. Get really good, because again, that last 4 day stretch is going to be crazy good, and the more time you can put in, the better, because the momentum is going to carry you forward into the new year, obviously. So anyway, hopefully that helps you on time frames all the way up to New Year's Eve, through New Year's Eve, actually. Andy says, Williams, you still the man. I am a man. I don't know if I'm the man, but I am a man. Adrian says, do you think sharing mental doubts on something in the business is ever a good idea? Say sharing doubts with staff, clients, or business partners, or with business partners. I'm not an optimistic person, and I'm not a pessimistic person. I'm more a realist. Okay, so we have that in common. I strike the in-between balance. I'm doing my best to balance feelings with also focusing on the goal. I'm looking for some guidance on how to manage my doubts when talking to others in the business, because I don't want it to backfire on me. Okay, so if you have, it's a great, first off, Adrian, appreciate you sharing. I know that's not easy for anybody to share that kind of stuff, as you can tell by watching me struggle through 2 hours of trying to share that stuff. I do it because out of necessity, because I know that a lot of people are going to benefit from it. So, and leave it open for you guys to ask questions like this. So it's a great question. First off, a couple of great questions. I want to make sure that I give you as much as I can here on this. So number one, if you have doubts on anything in the business model, your best foot forward is to quash that, whatever that is. Like, if you have a doubt that you can drive phone calls, you need to go run a campaign to a client and drive phone calls and quash that. If you have a doubt that you're in the right market, you need to go do enough market research to solidify that. My point is eliminate all doubt, remove all doubt, to where sharing doubts with people is not really in question anymore because there's nothing to share. You're extremely certain on pretty much every aspect of the business model, with exception to maybe a few things. So, for example, there's things that you're just never going to be certain on until you get to a level to start implementing them. For example, hiring and training staff. If you had a doubt that you could do that and do it at the way I teach you or something, for some reason, you're not going to know if you're going to have that doubt in your mind, or have the ability to have that doubt in your mind until you you get to that point and are able to make it happen or not, right? The point is, it's not time for you to even be thinking about that, let alone have feelings of doubt about something like that, because if you're not even at the hiring stage yet, then you're thinking too far ahead, right? It's a typical type A problem to have, is to try to solve things A to Z, when in reality, there are detours along the way, and we got to roll with it. We can definitely plan A to C, though. A to C, not A to Z, but A to C, no problem. As far as not being optimistic, say sharing doubts with staff, clients, or other business partners, I tend to keep to myself on that kind of stuff. I'm sharing here with you guys today because I'm teaching you how to process your own shit for you, not necessarily using it as a venting platform, if that makes sense. I don't like to vent publicly at all, actually. However, in this case, with this series, the training that was set, which you know that I set this training up a month ago. There's no possible way I could have known that today was just going to be like today is, and that the messages led up to from yesterday today to fit perfectly with what's going on in my life. But here we are, and I figured take full advantage of it. So this is not what you're seeing. Some of it is not necessarily what I would do. Like, if I have doubts or I have problems, I'm not going to just jump on a live stream and be like, guys, I don't think this is that, this and that, doubt. I'm not that kind of guy, right? I'm only going to come on and talk to you about what's certain. And then if someone asks me about something that if I'm doubting this or that, I'll tell them I am uncertain on it. However, my focus is not there, because I know I will come up with the answer. Kind of back to that Bezos quote that we did yesterday, which is and I'm paraphrasing here, but it's the vision is 100% certain, right? The goal is in mind is 100% certain. The details, I'm flexible on that, right? So that's what we've got to adapt to as type A's, right? Or that way of thinking. And that is a realistic way of thinking. It's not pessimistic. It's also not optimistic. It is what it is, if you've heard me say that before. And it very much is. So hopefully that makes sense on that. Also, the goal thing, again, I think the goal thing is putting pressure on you, undue pressure. And again, when we're under extreme amounts of pressure, or we feel under pressure even, we may not actually be under pressure, but if we feel like we're under great amounts of pressure, guess what? We're not going to make the best decisions. We're not going to make the best decisions that we could make in our lives, right? So keep that in mind as well. Let's see. How to manage. I'm looking for some guidance on how to manage my doubts when talking to others in the business. Again, I focus on the certainty, the things that are certain. And if ever someone asks about an elephant in the room, about something that's uncertain, I tend to question why that's relevant now. So, for example, if you're in the client acquisition stage at the beginning of your agency model, just for example, and you have uncertainty or doubts about being able to hire and train people successfully the way I teach to scale out the agency, let's just say that, or you have uncertainty that whether you can even run two verticals at the same time and expand and scale that way. But if we're way back over here at the client acquisition stage, starting out in the business, you haven't even made your first hire yet, or even really you shouldn't be at that point where you're thinking about that. Even though those are the next steps to come, they're not the immediate next steps to come to get you to where you need to be. That said, like, I understand it's more challenging to deal with and process. I tend to play things a lot closer to the chest than what I'm currently showing you right now. I'm showing you this, exposing this, so that you can see how I deal with things more on an inner monologue than verbally verbally venting and stating things publicly. And again, I'm doing that just for learning purposes here, because again, normally I'm the kind of guy, nope, 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 nope. I'm gonna I'm gonna reschedule the session, make sure I got my shit together so that you guys can benefit the most from it, right? And occasionally that happens, right? But again, I do that out of love because I want to make sure you guys get the best out of me, not the okayness out of me. You know what I mean? Or worse. So, talking about doubts, how to manage them. You don't really manage them more than you do solve them, right? As much as possible, work through them or put them in their place. In other words, it ain't time for you yet, Mr. Doubt scenario. We're way, 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 way away from you. And then when you get to the point of that doubt, you'll be in a place where what you've built up to that point, client acquisition wise, for example, when it's time to hire and train somebody, you have the room and for error and the margin for error to make mistakes and fuck up from time to time, because you have the clientele and the revenue coming in to be able to afford those kinds of mistakes. Whereas right now you're thinking about that going, God, I can't even make one wrong misstep, right? Because you don't have the clients yet, right? And that's just an example in a scenario based on what I'm teaching, but whatever your doubts are, work on solving them first so that you have fewer of them or less of them, or the bigger ones are smaller at least, and go from there. Okay. Quessy says, this resonates with me a lot. Good. So, like I said, if there was just one person that could pull from this, then that's a win for me and for all of us, really. So I'm happy to always help. You know that. Jeff says, I have those days where I put my phone on airplane mode to do a reset. I'm telling you, man, it's kind of like, short of, seeing trees and shit on fire, I really, and people in the streets like it's Portland or something, I'm fucking done with today, that kind of a thing. I hear you, man. We have those days. We all do. Whether some of us admit that or not is a different story, but we all have those days, 100%. You just get to see mine and how I process with it. As you can see, I still have a pretty good head on my shoulders in terms of laughing about it. At the same time, though, you can also probably still tell I'm not exactly at my peak, in my peak state, and I'm definitely miffed by that, or not. I'm not disappointed. It's the word I'm looking for. Not upset either, because upset makes it sound like, oh, I'm making irrational decisions, and I'm very much not. I'm pissed, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's like, it's not super pissed. I just, some form of pissed, like frustrated, right? But I'd say more pissed. There's a little bit more anger behind it than anything. Still know how to laugh, even though I'm angry. And I'm also still very much rational, right? Where if I was extremely angry or super pissed, then yeah, I have no rational decision-making capabilities anymore. But I definitely am not in that boat yet, right? So usually don't get there either, even in very, very bad days. I just tend to do the reset, right? Like you just said. John Smith says live agency building A to Z. Yeah, pretty much, right? Adrian also says, what is a good percentage range of callbacks to amount of Ringo's voicemail voice broadcasting sent out? And if the percentage is a lot lower than you recommend, what would you recommend to fix the problem? This assumes there are 0 issues with Dollar Central and the Google Maps contact extractor scrape the correct data. Okay, so a couple things. Data is super important, but if you have decent data, and Google Maps Contact Extractor is pretty decent, some of the other lead brokers are going to be okay. You're looking ideally for what I teach and what I've seen results over the years, anywhere from 1 to 3%, 1 to 3% turn back. So like if you have 500 dials that went out, you should have anywhere from 5 to 15 people um, uh, calling you back or leaving a voicemail or transfer overs, right? Total, ideally, right? For every 500. You can have more than that. I'm just saying 1 to 3% is pretty solid, right? And if it's lower than that, what I would recommend to do to fix the problem is two things. It's either the list, right? Needs better quality, clean it up, whatever you got to do, find a better broker if you're using a list broker. Um, or if it's not the list and or if it's the list or not, doesn't matter as much as also looking at the recordings and making sure the tonal patterns are right as I teach for the two different types of messages. Ringless voicemail is a voicemail. Voice broadcasting is very much like a 20-second infomercial. They got to press 1 to transfer over. One is read like the disclaimer at the end of a radio commercial, right? Certain restrictions may apply, batteries not included, right? That whole thing. The Micro Machines, man, from back in the day, like in the late 80s, early 90s, right? For you Micro Machines fans, right? Um, they're coming back. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't even know if they still make Micro Machines anymore, man. Used to love them as a kid, though. And the commercials always had the guy that talked really fast through the entire commercial, not just the batteries not included part at the end. And it was kind of their gimmick. It was funny. Anyway, you've got that, and then you've got the voicemail message, which is almost like you know what you're saying, but also sounds like you just came up with it. It sounds like a voicemail, like you're leaving it for a friend, almost like you expect it to be your friend picking up the phone saying hello, and oh, you got caught off guard just a little bit because your friend didn't pick up the phone to say hello, and so you're trying to find the words to say, something like that. It sounds kind of like that. There's ums and ahs, not every other word, but like that, right? Okay, so that should make sense, the two different tonal patterns. And again, verbatim messages, easy to read, just got to be read completely differently. One says, um, you know, do you need more business for, well, I've got live phone calls coming in for pest control every day. They're coming in every day. They got to go somewhere right now. Press 1 if you to speak to a lead specialist now, right? I always say lead. I know I hate that word, but it works really well because that's what other people are used to hearing. And then when they get on the phone, then we talk phone calls. Versus, yeah, this is William with such and such company. I've got phone calls. See the coming in every day. They got to go somewhere right now. There are people looking for HVAC and help with that. You can reach me at such and such phone number. Thanks. That's it. It's very short, sweet. Couple of ums, ahs, a little bit of space and pause in between. So the ringless voicemail message is going to be just a tad bit longer, time-wise, recording-wise, time recording-wise, than the voice broadcasting message, right? Okay. John says, hi, William, picked up on the singular operative words point you made the other day. Am reviewing my negative keyword list. Is there a good yardstick number for the size of a negative keyword list? Nope. It's going to get big. It's going to get big. That's all I can say about it. I mean, insert that's what she said comments here, right? It's going to get big. The list is going to get big and bigger, right? So keep doing what you're doing. There's no yardstick. Just add, add, add. If it's negative and it's obviously a negative, add it. Okay, 100%. Jeff says agreed. Oregon is crazy right now. You know, I think they've always been crazy. They just happen to be more more in the news about it lately. That's all. Julian says, this is Julian Alexander, says, William, I'd like to be able to send a payment link for a Stripe payment that is registered in the Ring Ads account so that a person can buy, I guess, directly from their smartphone. This link would take them to my site, but it would not be the main price page. And after they get not just the thank you page, but also they get sent automatically the client intake form so they can write in their service areas. Should I ask ClickFunnels support to show me how, or do you have some time now? Okay, let's back up for a second. I'd like to be able to send a payment link for a Stripe payment that is registered in the Ring Ads for a Stripe payment that is registered in the Ring Ads account. I don't understand that. I don't understand what you're asking there, Julian. What you're saying doesn't make sense. You're going to have to rephrase at least that first part. This link would take them to my site. Wait, Jesus. Let me try again. I'd like to be able to send a payment link for a Stripe payment, which doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever, that is registered in the Ring Ads account so that a person can buy directly from their smartphone, which they can already do on your agency website via ClickFunnels direct. I don't understand why you're asking what you're asking, and it doesn't make sense. This link would take them to my site, but it would not be, say, the main price page. So you want some kind of a link that's not the main price page for some fucking reason. Not sure why you would want that. And after, they get not just the thank you page, but they also get sent automatically a client intake form so that they can write in their service areas. That can be taken care of via the follow-up email sequence that I show you how to build out inside the fulfillment email for the product. So if you go into ClickFunnels, that part I can explain. You can send them a link to anything inside of a fulfillment email that's sent when they pay for the product, right? The fulfillment email is set up inside of the products tab of the order form page. So if you're on the order form page, 3 tabs over, look at products, click on products, click on edit, go in, select fulfillment email, put in whatever your template's going to be, which is what I've taught you to put in, and then add to that a direct link to your client intake form. That's fine, right? Or if you want to send them, forward them to a client intake form that's like set up already on another page or something, that's fine. Just set up a forwarding through ClickFunnels. They have the ability to do that. Look it up in their help desk, in their support desk. They've got training on how to do that kind of shit. Again, not something really you should have to do, but it's pretty straightforward, man. It's locations, it's hours, it's services and products. And if you can't be asked out to even like take that information over the phone, it's kind of impersonal doing it through a form and expecting them to just do it through the form. I mean, even if you had a form, you should be walking them through that form is kind of my point. So, but you can put that link inside of the fulfillment email, no doubt. I wouldn't just leave them to their own devices on that form and expect them to handle shit. I would definitely handhold them. They're going to need it. And just because you collected the money is not the end of the conversation, right? That's the beginning of the relationship, not the end. So what kind of impressions do you want to make at the beginning of the relationship, right? You definitely don't want to leave them to their own devices for that kind of stuff and for that long, certainly. Now, for this first half of what you're asking, I have no fucking clue what you're asking, to be straight up with you. Honest, I don't understand what you're asking. You should want to be able to send people direct to the main sales page. Outside of that, I don't know what you're asking, or if you could clarify, that'd be great. I'd be more than happy to come back and answer that, but I can't answer that as it is. I don't understand it. The last half I understand, and there's ways you can do that and deal with that. Adrian says, thank you for the advice today. I hope the rest of your day gets much better. I'm sure it will. And if it doesn't, I'm just going to work on getting out of the way of the snowball. No big deal. Okay, I don't see any other comments or any other questions. Let's make this last call. Julian. It's on you. If you're still around or still here listening to my voice right now, please clarify and I'll answer that question. Otherwise, I'm going to bounce off of here and I'll come back and check later and see if you've asked the question again, or come on tomorrow at 11 a.m. and ask directly using your voice, because some of the shit you're saying is just not via writing it out just does not make sense in what you're asking me. Um, Mostly because what you're asking sounds like you're trying to do something that I'm not teaching, which again, it's not a crime or anything, but why would you even want to do that kind of a thing, right? So I'm trying to understand what you're saying you want to do, because I think I understand what you want to do, but I can't be 100% sure. And really, I'm like maybe 20% sure, which is not a good place to be advising you from based on what you're saying here. And if even if I am right, then it's not what I'm teaching you, which, I mean, again, why would you want to do that? Um, so yeah, I'll stick around for a couple minutes, answer that question, and we'll bounce out of here. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. here in a second. I don't know why I'm trying to sign off while I'm waiting on a call. Let me grab some water. Oh man. Craziness, craziness. Okay, I'm not seeing anything come in on the comments, and I don't want a ton of dead air. I'll come back and check this later, Julian. So if you're listening to this right now, I'll answer later, and if you can clarify, of course. But please do a much better job, right? Much better job of explaining exactly what you're talking about. Hell, put it in a video if you need to. Whatever you got to do, man, because whatever you're saying right now doesn't make sense to me, to the point where I can't even answer it. Except that last half, which I just gave you some pointers on how to handle that easily. To send people to a client intake form, but I wouldn't just send them there. I would walk them through that if that's part of your process. Otherwise, just take the information over the phone like I teach you to do, and then you don't even need an intake form, right? It's pretty straightforward at that point. The first half I don't understand. Again, clarify, and I'll come back and answer that, help you out. All right, let's bounce out of here. Attendance, forget it. Today is everybody's here today. Okay, one of them days. Matter of fact, I'll take care of that right now. I'm doing that right now. And I did update Art's points, I'm pretty sure. Let me just go back and double check. Should be at 1,300. Yes. Okay, 12 clients. Yep. Art's good to go on his count, so don't worry, man. Don't worry, Art. Don't worry, everybody. I'm here mentally enough, at least, to not screw all that kind of stuff up. So that's good. And attendance is good, so everybody's golden. All right, I'll catch you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. Julian, please clarify, and I'll be more than happy to answer post session. No problem. Just please clarify for everybody and for me what you're asking there at the first half. And oh wait, here you are in the Zoom. Awesome. All right, so let me let you in real quick. Let's get this done quick. Julian. Hello, Julian. Let's get this done quick. Julian.
Hi, do you hear me?
I can.
Do you hear me? Okay, great. So the reason why I asked about having a separate link is that I do want to be able to charge tiered pricing. And the reason why I want to be able to send them a link as opposed to send them to my website is that they may be out on the road and they may well not want to wait. Well, I don't want them to wait to go back to their office to get in front of a computer. So I'm thinking,
why do they need to be in front of a computer? I don't understand. The pages in ClickFunnels are mobile optimized, Julian. What are you talking about?
I don't want them to go to the front page where they are reading about the company. I just want them to, they've already made the decision to join. So I just want to send them a checkout page.
Okay, it's one button click, dude. You're talking about the difference between one button click on a mobile device that can handle web pages very easily, and the web pages are optimized mobile, and you still don't want to send them to that?
Yes. The reason, as I said, is I don't want them to have to read about the company and what we do. I've already gone through that. I just want them to be able to say, okay, where do I sign up? I say, here, I'll send you a link. It takes them to a checkout page. It'll still have the company logo. It'll still have everything, what they're doing, what we're buying, what we've agreed. But afterwards, but prior to that, they won't have to see all about what we do.
Okay.
Okay. So they made the mental decision. They decided to buy. Now, it might be that this is somebody in, let's say, Houston, as opposed to somebody in, say, Roanoke, Virginia.
I understand what you're asking about the tiered stuff. So can you clarify on the tiered stuff?
Well, somebody in Houston may be willing to pay $35 or $30 for a call, but somebody in Roanoke may only be willing to pay $15 or $20 for a call. And the competition in Roanoke, which has a population of 46,000, is much different from the population of Houston that has a population of over 2 million.
Why are you targeting cities that are in 46,000? That's not what I taught you to start with.
It's in the dialer. It's all the cities in one state, or all the cities from biggest to smallest are loaded up. So some of them, when I call them, they may say, well, when they say where I ask where they are, they may say, I'm in a relatively small town. And therefore I know that within a relatively small town, I cannot be charging them full pricing. They'll flip.
Okay. What did I tell you about if somebody's not a fit? What are you supposed to say to them?
Well, if they're not a fit, I'm not going to accept them as a client.
Okay. So then there is no however, Julian. That's it. That's it. Game over. Hang the fucking phone up. On to the next. Come back to them another time, right? If you really want to service them as a client and do tiered pricing that way, you're overcomplicating shit that does not need to be overcomplicated.
Well, okay. So let's say that they are in a city that they would be willing to pay more than just $20 a call.
Again, you're overcomplicating. You need to average out the prices tiered based on service level, not major metro. And I told you originally to target major metro and cities surrounding major metro, and you'll be fine. I'm not sure what you're not comprehending on that. I can't really say it any other way either.
All right, so you're suggesting.
Not suggesting. There's a difference, right? I'm making recommendations which will either get your ass moving or not. One of the two. You're either going to comply and not overthink it and get clients, or you're going to reject the idea entirely and do your own thing and see where that takes you. Right? One of the two. I'm not suggesting by any means, because I've already been there and done that, Julian. I've already been there and done that. In this vertical, many, many times.
Allow me to recap. What you're saying to me, what you're suggesting, what you're directing is that I send them the link to the main website. Not
Correct.
To the payment page, simply to the main website. And I tell them, just click the button to go to the checkout page. And then they buy a fixed price. So all my conversations will be about a fixed price, a fixed dollar average price, up or small, just to get started, get on the board. That's what you're suggesting.
It's a bit more than that, but yeah, that's the general idea. That's correct.
Okay. And then after that, you're saying that ClickFunnels on the third page will be the congratulations page. I will stay on the phone with them. I'll ask them, have you seen what do you see now after you complete your payment? They'll say, I see congratulations. I'll say, great. Now that you are that you've made your payment, let's just confirm the service areas and the zip codes or counties and the kinds of account details that I will need in order to set up your campaign such that you get calls that you're willing to service. And I stay on the phone with them. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're saying no client intake form.
I'm not saying you don't have an intake form. I'm saying if you're going to use one, integrate it into what I've already taught you, right? Like there's form fills that you can integrate inside of ClickFunnels. If that's too advanced for you, then don't bother, right? Do what I teach. It's going to be simple. If you want to learn that and take the time learning curve wise to pull in a form intake, an intake form like that on the thank you page, which you can do, or send a direct link in the fulfillment email, which I just told you how to do, you can do those things, right? But again, overcomplicating, man. Overcomplicating something that's proven effective is pulling in clients for people right now while you're sitting here wondering what else you can do or not do and how you can do it and how you cannot do it, right? Same conversation we had last time, really, just on different things, if you notice.
All right, thank you so much.
So what are you planning on doing?
Well, what I'm planning on doing is doing what you suggest. Leave it as it is. Just send them the link to the main website. They get to see the company name. I then direct them to click on the link to enroll. They go to see a single price. They buy. I ask them, so have you done that? I'll say, I'll wait on the phone while you do that. They say, yes, I've done that. I'll say, great. Do you see the thank you page? They say, yes, I see the thank you page. I say, great. Let's go over and confirm your service area. I or anybody that is on my team do that.
Okay, well, it's more locations, hours, and products and services. Those are the three main, right? Not a bad idea to find out the phone number that you're driving the calls to initially either. But outside of those 3-4 pieces of information, really you don't need anything else initially to start a campaign up. The rest comes from ongoing communication with the client. And walking a client through the process is not quite as blocky as what you're describing. It should be very much, okay, I'm ready to do this. Great. Go to www.payme.com. Great. Click on the button for me. Awesome. You should see an option there or a couple different options for different pricing based on, again, tiered, actual fucking tiers that I teach you, not what you're trying to make tiers into be, right? Out to be. And select the tier that okay, great. And then go ahead and fill in your information. Take 2 minutes and I'll be right here waiting on the other line. I'll wait on the other side. And you mute and you wait. They fill it out. Okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm through. Awesome. You should see congratulations at the top of your page. Do you see that? Awesome. I don't say words like thank you page. I don't say shit like that. That's jargon for internet marketers, and it's shitty jargon on top of it. So you should see congratulations top of your screen there. Yes. Okay. Great. Hey man, it's confirmed. You're in. I got your payment. Here's what comes next. I need locations, hours, phone number, and products and services that you offer, don't offer. Now, I understand you're on the way to a job right now. That's okay. You should also have an email in your inbox. Can you check your phone real quick, see the email? Okay, great. So in that email, you'll actually see an intake form link. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But in that email, you'll see where I ask you the same questions. And so when's a good time for us to reconnect? Maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes after this job is done or whatever. And you get a time, and then you sit down with them and you jam out the locations, you jam out the hours, you jam out the phone number and all that kind of shit, right? Products and services, and take it from there, right? But a lot of it is customer communication. It's actual client communication, Julian. It's not, the system is not designed for you to completely automate the process as if you're buying something from Amazon. That's not intended, and that's on purpose. Okay, it is. I do teach you how to be able to scale this with semi-automation through other staff, right, that are hired and trained to run these processes the way I have taught you, so that you're not actually the one doing any of this stuff anymore at a certain point. But it's still human to human, still person to person, and it's going to remain that way as long as probably the phone is the way it is. I'm not going to teach anything different that's less effective. Why would I do that to you, to anybody? And I'm certainly not going to, change change up what, yeah, I'm just not going to do that, man. I mean, I've told you several times now how we're doing things, why we're doing them that way. It's like, man, I don't know why we have these conversations like this over and over again. I'm not sure. I'd like to not have them like that. I'm not saying I don't want to talk to you. I love talking to you actually, but the first time we talk about stuff should be the last time we have to talk about that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not
Let me
understanding.
confirm something because I did set up the payment link with the help of ClickFunnels staff, but it was just the dynamic pricing and putting in the information with regards, not dynamic pricing, but the pricing that is dynamically generated and shown or displayed on the checkout page from Stripe to ClickFunnels. I don't know whether or not when they purchase, whether or not the form, the checkout page asks them for their name, their company name, their phone number, and email. As far as I'm aware, it only asks them for their credit card information, but because I haven't seen it, I don't know how it's done. So I would need all of that information, at least the email address, so that that receipt can go out to them.
Well, yeah, they're going to fill in their email address. And if you don't know what's included in the form, the checkout form, I highly recommend you go through your own checkout process with test mode on. Enable test mode and go through it and actually enter in the test mode card info. ClickFunnels has an entire set of documentation on how to do that step by step. And it's super valuable because you not only get to go through the process yourself, but you get to see all the kind of shit that you just asked about. And email is definitely one of the fields that's included, 100%.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, keep in mind, if you're on the phone with somebody, right, and a deal comes through, I mean, it's the only deal that's coming through on Stripe. It's not like you got 2 phone calls going on at the same time from you directly.
Mhm.
Now,
Right.
if you've got 5 sales staff at that point, yeah, there's probably going to be some things you can do to, like an extra field you can add to the checkout that's going to make more sense to have so that a client can be easily identified. But in most cases, between the email and the name and the actual date and time, you're not going to usually have clients pulled in right on top of each other. They're going to be 30, 40 minutes apart or an hour apart, 2 hours apart, stuff like that. So you're not really, I mean, even at 5 sales staff, you're not going to have these challenges. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think you're just clouding it up more than it needs to be. And I don't think you're intentionally doing it. That's why I'm asking, like, because I'm asking, seriously, man, I know I'm not having the greatest day, and I appreciate you bearing with me, but I really want to know how to communicate better with you. I really do. Or I wouldn't be asking what I'm asking, which is like when we talk about things initially and we cover them and I give you all the reasons why and everything, it feels like maybe, and I feel confident that you understood me and you're good. Something happens though between the time that we have that talk and like the next time we talk, because the next time we talk is almost always about the exact same thing we just talked about before. And I'm just trying to, I want to see you have more progress in terms of, and be able to move forward faster and also not get as frustrated about, because I know you can't be happy necessarily dealing with the same shit, right, over and over again. That frustrates anybody. And for me, I want to be able to communicate that better. So tell me what's going on so I can, work on that or whatever it is I got to do. Maybe it's not on me. I don't know, but, is it just that you understand the concepts, you struggle with implementing them, or is it, I don't know. You got to give me something though, so I can make things better.
I don't recall that we had this conversation before. I do know that you mentioned that, yes, there is tiered pricing.
We
based
talked
on-
about tiered pricing in depth, man, and we talked about why targeting major metro areas, why to not latch onto the whole thing on your data about the smaller cities. If they're not a fit, they're not a fit. Move on. We've had those conversations, right, on several of those topics before. That's why I'm asking you what I'm asking you, which is, hey man, we talked about that before. So is it just that you missed it, or that you don't recall it? That would
No,
explain a
no,
lot.
no. Look. For example, the largest city in Vermont has a population of under 100,000 people, and the
Right.
next
Yeah, because it's
and the next
Vermont.
smallest ones down are really, really tiny. And there's a snowstorm going on there. There's going to be accidents. There's going to be a need. Doesn't mean I should ignore a state like Vermont, which is
Not
probably
ignore. Okay, Julian, I never said the word ignore. Have you ever heard me say the word ignore?
No, I haven't heard you say
No.
that.
Okay.
That's why
It's
I asked
about
you.
where we choose to target initially, right? I'm trying to get you jump started into the business. You don't jump start. Here's a great analogy for you and your vertical, okay? You don't jump start a fucking dead battery by how do I finish this analogy? You don't jump start a dead battery by um, pulling in juice from 10 miles away with a 10-mile long line, right? It's going to die off because the line's too long. The power's not strong enough to carry through in most cases on a power source to the battery to jumpstart you. You got to get a tow truck out there within range of like 20 feet and run some short jumper cables from battery to battery to give it a good jump. And then guess what? The engine started. Now you can go wherever you want, Haas. Okay. So I'm not saying ignore a state or a city or any. I'm saying choose your fucking target, man. Choose wisely and choose based on what I'm telling you because that is the wisest target for someone who has zero clients is starting at a ground zero place. Um, if you now listen, Julian, if you had, I'll give you a good example. If you had 50 clients already in this space, you would have much more of your teeth cut marketing to this specific vertical to where smaller cities would be possible. I probably still wouldn't advise it to start because of the just because it's just not smart leverage, but you could pull it off. Right now, if you do what you're trying to do or don't wrap your head around what I'm trying to tell you on those points, you're gonna struggle, man. Way more needlessly than you need to. Okay? That's all. That's all I'm saying.
What I'm looking for is some way of gauging medium. For example, you suggested
Medium.
that we start with cities of 500,000 or less to 500,000
Up.
to say 100,000.
500,000 up, not less. Up. Up, Adrian. Up. Julian,
Okay,
whatever, not Adrian.
I
Julian,
thought it was
Jesus.
I thought it was less.
No, up, up, up.
Okay. All right,
Okay, up.
that's
Say
good.
it again one
Good.
more time.
I didn't realize because I was looking at 500,000 down to 100,000.
Well, that's a way that you can expand, absolutely, but that's not your starting point. Your
Okay.
starting point is five. And by the way, what I've just told you about 500,000 up on major metro areas has what I have always said for years now. Years and fucking years. It's not changed. It's not going to change in most cases. Unless our populations in the cities drastically change or something, I guess then it might change. But the way things have been going, the way things are right now, I don't foresee that happening or that kind of change happening. So 500,000 up is your target to start. And then to expand, you can go higher and you can go lower, but only down to 100,000, right? And really, you should never drop below 250 before you've got at least on your way to making your first hire. Like you should have a couple dozen clients or more before you're even thinking about dropping below 250,000 in population, you know? Um, are you going to have a client sign on with you initially that's 100,000? Yes. Is it your target though? No, right? You can still hit stuff that's not your target, but it's not your target. I mean, what you're after is 500,000 up, right? Start there,
All right.
expand out. Okay.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification because that
Yeah,
was an area that I was not zoned in on.
that makes sense. So it sounds like the communication gap here, it's both of our fault, which I already expected. So it just seems like I'm saying something and it's just not maybe emphasized enough and it's not retained on your end. enough to where it clicks on, because now that point, for example, now that point has been made and it's been emphasized, there's no way you're ever going to forget it, for one thing. Second, it makes much more sense to you on everything else that we've covered that point kind of governs, if that makes sense. Like a lot of the questions and concerns you have are governed by that rule of thumb, that 500 up, right? So I think going forward, I'm just going to be more mindful of that. And if you do the same, I think we'll be able to meet in the middle a lot easier. Not that our conversations are unpleasant. They're actually, in a lot of cases, very pleasant. I just, again, on days like today where I'm fucking struggling, right? I want to help you out. I want to make sure you get what you need. But some of the questions you're asking are like, Jesus Christ, that's so far left field. Like, I don't even understand why you would ask that. Like, first off, it's not even close to what I would be teaching them. Secondly, like, I understand now the first half, by the way. And I understand what you're saying about if I've got somebody ready to buy, I want to get one less thing they got to click on is where I'm at. At the same time, man, I've never run into an issue where somebody was not willing to click on a big ass blue button on the first page to pay me some money for phone calls. They're not gonna, they're not gonna hold up the whole process for that one. Trust me, because in most cases, even people that are on the road, I've already sent that link to and they've already seen it, or they'll go back and look at it later. Seriously. And I've had that happen before. Hey, man, I was on your site after, we took care of the payment yesterday. I was on your site last night and I heard those call recordings. You telling me you can get me calls like that? And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. And they're like, man, I'm glad I took your call yesterday. And so people do go back and visit the site. It's not something that should really be high on your radar for worrying about something like that. It's part of the sales process. You walk them through on the phone. Think of it like, trying to give you a good example. Like there are people that in airline emergencies or plane emergencies where the pilot is incapacitated and nobody knows how to fly the fucking plane.
Except the computer.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, it still takes someone to manage that, right?
Mhm.
And someone trained in most cases to do it successfully and consistently. And the thing is that when that happens, air traffic control and also experts on the ground can usually take an average citizen who's not even, dicked around with Flight Simulator before and as a game and have them land just based on instructions over a headset, if you think about it, right? So auditory only, no visual medium whatsoever other than what they actually experience as they're landing. And in most cases, they're able to get the plane down successfully. Maybe not without a little bit of damage here and there, but no loss of life or very little loss of life. And that would be obviously the most important thing about landing the plane is not dying, right? Or killing everybody on board. So when I look at our sales process, I guess is what I'm getting at. Your goal is to be that ATC guy that can not only manage the incoming and outgoing traffic, which is crazy, but also in an emergency situation like acquiring a client, walk them through start to finish. It's totally okay that you've never opened a website browser before on your smartphone. I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to be here step by step, right? And you walk them through each piece of what it is they need to do. Without the internet jargon, right? Internet marketing jargon. Don't use words like thank you page, checkout page. Okay. Use it like, okay, you see, like again, an ATC guy talking to a guy who's never been in a cockpit before in his life, right? And it's like, okay, you should see a bunch of knobs and a big ass stick right in the middle. You see that? Yeah, okay. That's not what they call it. They do call it a stick, but you get my point. There's like a bunch of knobs. No, that's not what they call it, an instrument panel, there's, but do they really have the time or the even the necessity to explain all that shit to them? No, they're trying to get the plane on the ground and get everybody out alive. So in this case, somebody's trying to get to a job. They need to take 2 minutes to walk through the process. They don't need to know words like checkout page, checkout option, thank you page, right? All they funnel, any of those crazy words, lead, they're all bad words. You don't need those. Just stick to the facts, which is see a big blue button, click on that. All right, now you should see a drop down box. I want you to select the second option, which is what we talked about, or the first option, which is what we talked about. Maybe even is already pre-selected. Yep, I see it, I got it. All right, next you'll see where you put in some card information, and I'll wait here while you punch that in, and then when you hit the submit button, let me know, and I'll walk you through what comes next, and then I go on mute. Then when they say, okay, I'm done, I see the next page, and I say, okay, you should see congratulations at the top. Yes, okay, welcome aboard. And that's when everything gets real exciting. Warm and fuzzies, reassurance, need some basic information from you. I know you said you're on the way to a job right now, or do you have 5 minutes right now if you're not on the way to a job? Great questions about locations, hours, phone number to send the calls to, who's answering the phone, is it you or is it a staff member? You might already know the answer to that. And what products and services do you want and which ones do you not want? Which ones make you the most money? Which ones make you the least money? All that kind of jazz. That's it. It's a very short conversation, even with all that stuff in there. The intake form, Julian, is not a bad thing. It's not a bad idea, and it's not something I would say. It's an option. It's not a personal preference of mine. It's something you can add. At the end of the day, though, I would not use that as to why I'm not on the phone yet, if that makes sense. I would definitely be, on the phone right now without that intake form, based on what I just told you and how easy the process actually is. You can incorporate that as you go, right? Not a bad idea, just not required, even for efficiency, really. But having it, personal preference, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to tell you to not do that. I am going to tell you to not do that in place of acquiring clients, right? That's the biggest thing I can give you, man, is just focus on what's to come, which is like the next step, which is not an intake form, right? That's an option. That's a car that needs to get you from A to B. That's heated seats, man. Yeah, they're nice. From personal experience, I like heated seats. I don't have to have them to get from from A to B. I don't. There's much more important things.
Our conversation has brought up that I haven't completed the setup. I haven't set up the email that goes out to confirm things with the messaging.
The fulfillment email?
Fulfillment email. I was not aware of that. So
okay. So, well, I covered that in the COVID Client Challenge in the setup that I do, and you get a copy of the template, I believe. And if not, it's on screen. So you can just type it out real quick. It's not like some page-long thing. Okay, it's pretty quick, pretty easy. But yeah, man, you're definitely going to want that because that automates that whole thing you were just talking about. And if you have a link to an intake form, that would be a great place to have it.
All right. I'll look into that tonight.
Okay. And don't use that to not be on the phone tomorrow. I want you on the phone.
Yes, that is my plan. Now I know the size of the city and so forth. I'll go through my my data and I'll filter it out for the larger cities as opposed to the the smaller ones that I should not be targeting initially.
I would say run it, and if they're not a fit, they're not a fit. But you're not going to run into a ton of that, believe it or not. And you're also going to find that smaller cities are still used to the idea of, even in your vertical, how much their calls are worth. They may not be worth as much as Metro, but they're still going to make good profit on it. I've had in that vertical.
What I was thinking is for me on my side, William, with regards to, it would probably cost me more to advertise in Los Angeles and Houston than it would cost to advertise in, say, Virginia Beach, for example, because of the size of
I
the
got
cities.
you. Well, the difference is though, those are such big cities that there's so many different towing companies that service those cities, and Major Metro is going to drive the volume. That's what you
Mhm.
want. You're not going to go necessarily for downtown LA, but Jesus, man, there's all these cities, Irvine, there's Rancho Cucamonga, blah, 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 all that shit around LA, right? Where Orange County, right? There's all these places around LA that are just jam packed with people that have cars that break down. Same thing for Houston. It's David Bennett could tell you better, not good, but from my visiting, it's very spread out landmass wise. Houston is, and it ain't the only city that's like that. And there's tons of townships in their own right, like Katy and Sugarland, right on the southwest side. There's and many more than that. But my point is, you don't hear really about those more than you do Houston. And someone who lives in Sugarland, if they're like, for example, if someone lives in Sugarland or Katy, and they they go to a mixer, not in that city, like they go to a mixer in, I don't know, Georgia, and meet a bunch of people, and they say, "Where are you from?" Instead of them saying Sugarland, because they know nobody knows where the fuck that is, they say Houston, because it's the closest big city, if that makes sense. And technically, they're right outside of Houston, so they're not really lying to people. It's just something that people are going to be able to associate and understand easily. Houston is obviously in Texas, for those of us that know some of our geography in the states, right? Um, some of us don't even know all the states, uh, education wise, but Houston is a city that most people know by name, just for one reason or the other. And
Mhm.
Sugarland is not really, I mean, it almost sounds made up, right? And I guess you could say all names are made up at some point, but I mean, it sounds like a fictional town name, doesn't it? Sugarland? Really? Like, okay, I get, never heard of it. Oh, well, it's outside of Houston.
Okay.
So hopefully that makes sense. Las Vegas, same thing. Like Las Vegas, and then there's a town called Henderson, right, on the south end of Vegas. And um, Henderson, back in the day when Vegas was real small and Henderson was real small, they grew into each other. So now it's really just one major metro area. However, Henderson very much has its own city limits and township, okay, and its own police department and everything, right?
Yes.
It's actually technically not part of Vegas, even though it has grown into be part of Las Vegas. And people that live in Henderson don't say Henderson, Nevada. They say, "Yeah, I'm from Vegas," because they're 10 minutes away from the Luxor. You know what I mean? They're 10 minutes away from MGM Grand. You live in Vegas. To everybody else, like that's their association. So take that for what it's worth. And That's why I say don't get rid of the small cities, because there's going to be a lot of them that, yeah, they say their population is 100,000, but it's on the border of a city that's like 2 million or whatever, right? Perfect example. So um, I wouldn't just go and filter the list. I would filter it verbally on the phone. Plus, it gives you good experience on the phone talking to business owners. You can even earmark them for follow up in those cases. But you're not going to find a ton of those out of the gate. I promise. I promise you. Not for your vertical.
Okay, what I have noticed is that very few companies in my vertical pay money to Google to advertise.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're used to getting paid for calls, not paying for calls.
Yeah, that's what I've
100%.
seen. Is that hardly anybody out of the hundreds of hundreds of hundreds or thousands and thousands, very, very few have advertising accounts. And those that do seem to be companies that collect calls on behalf of others. They're the third-party dispatch companies. They're the AAAs, they're the minor keys, they're the other companies that have a general name like 24/7 Towing Rescue or something like that. And you see them in
Right.
many, many things like that. And they're the only ones that seem to be advertising. Other than that,
What does that tell you about the industry? Does it have a ton of options, or are they limited?
well, what it tells me is that they are used to being fed as opposed to feeding themselves to get their own business.
Right. And my question still stands. Do they have a lot of options, or are they limited? I don't care about if they're getting fed or not. We've already covered that. Do they have a lot of options or not?
Well, they do.
No, they do not.
Why not?
They're limited. They're limited.
I mean, all it would take would be one or two companies to say, yeah, I'm going to stake my claim in my city and I'm going to advertise and I'm not going to be dependent on these other companies. But they don't seem to do that. They don't seem to even be aware of the possibility of doing that.
Which should tell you, what does that mean? Man, you really gotta dig deeper here, man. The industry at large that we're talking about is limited, 100%. And even if it's not actually limited, they definitely feel limited because that's all they've ever known, right? Or it's all they've ever been told, or it's all they've ever seen until you show up. That's my whole point, right? You have a different way of doing business. People don't always necessarily latch onto it immediately, but your offer is so enticing that it's very difficult for them to at least not want to give it a try after years and years and years of the same old shit and not seeing the growth they want to see. Maybe even seeing growth, but not the growth they want to see. There's a difference, right? There's a difference between 10% growth, seeing that, and wanting 100%, right? And knowing that it's possible, or maybe even not knowing that it's possible, but anytime you have a chance at that, you'd be crazy not to take it. That's where your market's at mentally. And yeah, they are used to being fed, like we said. We've established that. But that should have no bearing whatsoever on the people that are hungry to grow. Because just because you're being fed doesn't mean you're being fed full, right? You're not getting full every time. Being fed don't matter no more, does it?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
I get it. Thank you. I'll use that phrase that you just shared. Good one.
Yeah. Well, you don't even have to use the phrase. I mean, as long as you have that as the mindset as to where these guys are at and what they deal with on a daily basis. And let me tell you something. Half the hoops they have to jump through for these companies just to get those calls, and then some of them are shit calls and they know it, and the guys sending the calls know it, and it's like, well, you want to be in the rotation, you're going to have to take some of the good with the bad. And it's like, really? All this just for half of the time it to be these kind of calls? Really? Okay. All right. What kind of business did I get myself into, right? Or what's this world coming to? That's their mindset in a lot of cases for a lot of those services. Even if they know that it helps them keep the lights on, keeps them fed, as you said, it ain't enough. It ain't enough, and they know it. You're the solution to that problem. They just don't know it yet. Your job is to communicate that, and the ones that are ready and willing are going to take you up on it, and they're going to make a killing. They're going to make a killing, and everybody's going to be like, man, how did you grow from 1 truck or 2 trucks last year to 8? How did you do that?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. I don't see that is the prognosis for the business. The outlook for the business is going to be good in the next 20 years or so.
Yeah, for sure. Even for electric. Absolutely.
I think that as cars go more electric and
Still have problems though. I've
they
seen
still-
Teslas on fire, dude. Are you kidding me? You think that thing's not going to need some help? Oh man, that's what happens when you have a bunch of Note 7s with wheels running around. They tend to catch on fire time to time. Not that Tesla has a major problem with that or anything, but I'm just saying it's battery operated. Batteries do some crazy shit, man. So yeah. Plus, there's way more than that can go wrong. Tires can go flat. What else? Wrecks still very much. Batteries. That's about it with an electrical car. Maybe something breaks down like planetary gears or something in the transmission. That's going to obviously have to be fixed at a service station, but if that happens, that car's completely screwed. Mobility wise, it's going to need somebody to come out and take care of it, take it away. So yeah, there's still very much going to be business in place for electric cars, right? I'd start to be concerned about your business probably about the time you get into your 80s, maybe 90s, if you haven't already sold it by then. When we have large underground tunnels in tunnel highways that are like super traffic tunnels, super sonic tunnel kind of deals where cars are maybe not even going supersonic, but they're doing 150 in Tesla's underground. Don't really know about a whole towing industry for those guys. But again, you're talking about something that is not only decades away, or at least a couple decades away from having those tunnels, but then only having those tunnels. That may never happen. So there may always be a need for the industry. Yeah. Unless
No,
we
it's just that, well,
come
what I
up
mean
with,
is for the independent. For example, let's say that it was an electric car or a car that has sensors and said, okay, well, this tire has blown. It might send a signal just, as we have right now with GM OnStar or something like that, where
I
it
got you.
sends a signal and they say, okay, this particular car has tires
Yeah.
blown out at this location with the GPS coordinates and everything else. So they know it goes to a central dispatch as opposed to an independent who will
Yeah.
never get that.
Right.
Things that,
And you just sit there and wait on the tow truck to come. I got you.
right.
Yeah, we could graduate to that kind of technology, but I'll tell you,
Well,
it's going to be quite a while.
It's not going to affect me now. It's not going to affect me now. Let's focus
It's
on
going to
the
be, well, it's going to be quite a while. Yeah. But
Yeah.
even so, you've got other verticals you can tap into for sure,
That's
that you're
good.
going to be expanding into anyway, for sure. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that you're talking stuff that's really kind of, I can't see the future, but I can see our progress towards things that are being developed. And I think more people are focused and more concerned about car autonomy than servicing of the car being autonomous, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like more people want to see self-driving technology dialed in and approved, and things like drones and flight of drones and package delivery from drones approved more than they do exactly what I just said with the whole towing thing set up. But that's possible. It is possible. It just hadn't been done yet, and I think that's at least 20 years off. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much again.
Always, man. You know that.
Good. I'm glad I had the conversation for things mentally and know where the holes are. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, as always. I'll be, like I said, I'll be more mindful in the future about how our conversations go and what I'm emphasizing and whatnot. Maybe what I would also suggest is a pen and notepad, or some kind of a highlighter if you're already using a pen and notepad, so that the emphasized points, I'll make sure to emphasize them. You make sure to emphasize them in your notes, and then I think we'll be good from there. But yeah, there's a method to the madness in almost everything that I teach. However, you'll notice that I said this earlier today, there are personal preferences, which I do not say are required, and then there are recommendations, which are like, man, if you're not doing that, you're probably going to hurt in more ways than one in a lot of cases. So there's recommendations, which is, suggestions too light. I don't suggest, right? Recommendations, 100%. Personal preference is like, hey, Julian, so client intake form. My personal preference, get all the info over the phone. Much better for the relationship building anyway. Having a client intake form, though, because it's personal preference, means sure, you can do that. You can integrate it. Where I draw the line really as a mentor would be, don't let that be the reason you're not on the phone. That's the only thing. And as long as you and I are,
I'd have a client intake form. Even just for a member of staff to make sure that all the bases are covered, that they're asking all the questions and everything's filled out correctly, so that they are guided as to what to ask somebody over the phone, what needs to be put in there, and they can input it on behalf of the client. At least it's all standardized. And
Yeah,
that'll be part of
it's something
operation.
that's good for when you have a customer onboarding / customer support position at that point. But that's something that's part of their processes and the conversation they have. The salesperson is not going to have that conversation with them. What they'll do, if anything, is forward the call. Like if somebody's got 5 minutes, then they're going to forward the call over to customer onboarding person, right? But to have it out of the gate is not a requirement at all. It's more of a personal preference. At the stage of, like you said, staff, yeah, you're going to want to have some kind of information sheet that your onboarders can use to onboard the client, right? Just like you said, and that information gets communicated out to your campaign manager, and ultimately back to the agency manager as well. That a new client came in and here's their particulars and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, cool.
Okay.
All right, my man.
Thank you so much. I need to go, and I'm sure you do too. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Do your thing, and let's meet back in the middle. Are you on the phone tomorrow prospecting, or?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Just
And you've
wanted
got
to-
Dollar Central all set and everything?
Well, no, because I'm going to have to adjust the way that I'm going to upload the data.
Let me rephrase. You'll have in time, without like putting yourself under immense pressure or anything, you'll have plenty of time between now and tomorrow morning when you plan to start the calls. Everything's set, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a huge list. It could be a small enough just to get me going.
Yeah, a couple thousand will last you. Shit, what is today? Today's Thursday. A couple thousand will last you the rest of this week. Easy. Yeah, easy. Are you planning on doing emailing tomorrow or Friday? I'm sorry, tomorrow's Friday. Excuse me. Friday or Saturday?
Well, again,
Or just calls.
I have to sort
Modify
that out.
the data. I gotcha. Okay.
Well,
you know what? Make some calls, right? Get your feet wet. Well, if you track your data, like I was telling you to with the Post-it notes, I was mentioning that earlier from what Rob shared with the tracking sheet, which is a great share. But if you track everything on a Post-it note or whatever, and then for the day, for Friday, and then you come on Saturday and we have a talk about what you've done and what your numbers are, I'm going to be able to point you on some of the fine tuning for the sales conversations for starters. And then you've got the weekend to do some follow-ups and all that, but also prep for next week, right? And making that a big week, because you can you're within striking distance, very, very much so, on multiple clients, not just one or two, right? I tell you, when you get a client in this vertical, once you've got one and you break that barrier, they come very, very easily, believe it or not. And the calls that come through very easily as well. It's one of the better verticals, I would say, to cut your teeth in. Like, you've made a good decision. I know I've already told you that before, but we got to get you going,
It was your guidance. I mean, when I reviewed the COVID challenge, there were 3 verticals, and
see, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, there were 3 verticals. You mentioned moving, towing, and appliance repair. And I didn't think appliance repair is something I want to do. I figured that the keyword search would be much less. The urgency is definitely there. And that's why I went with it. And also the cost per click to get a call is fairly low. So I think I try all those 3 factors weighed in to say, okay, well, that's what I should start with, even if I'm not wedded to any particular vertical. Way I see it is I help people to get what they want out of life in the moments and times that they need it. So if you've got a divorce crisis going on, then that's what I help you to do. But right now I'm starting where I can get a toehold, I get a handhold, and then I can expand from there.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, man. And again, it's a good vertical. You've got more than your fair share of market research. you got a good head on your shoulders. I just want to make sure. That's why I was saying, hey man, I just want to make sure we're on the same page more on the communication side. And if I can do better, which I will, now that I know what's missing, uh, and we can meet in the middle more on that, then I think you're going to move faster. And moving faster means results faster, means your momentum is faster, all because of how we change up, just modify a little bit our communication style. And this is an individual thing. Like everybody communicates differently. I get that. But at the same time, like I see you putting the results in, putting the work in, getting the results rather. And I don't want to see you struggle with things over and over again. And I certainly don't want to be the reason because I didn't emphasize something enough. That's an easy fix for me, by the way. Even on my bad days, right? That's an easy fix for me to do that so that you can have more momentum in your business. I mean, shit, dude, that's the difference between us continuing on as is, and you make 6 figures a year, no problem, like maybe even 7, versus you doing, you know, record breaking, neck breaking kind of things. I'd much rather, record break, neck break, man. That's where I want you, not having an okay business and an okay life and an okay world. I mean, that's for everybody else, man. I'm not here for that. You're not here for that. So that's
I don't
why I
think
ask those
anybody-
questions.
Yeah, and I think anybody who with this business model will have more than an okay life and an okay business. There is
Yeah, if
so
they
much-
make it, if they work at it, they will definitely. I agree. My goal is just to get you there faster, if anything. Because I'll tell you,
I
if you
do
don't,
appreciate your consistency in listening to the side of you that wanted to be consistent rather than the side of you that wanted to just put it off. That's really good.
what do you mean
Appreciate it.
be consistent versus put what off? Did you say put off?
For example, I heard somebody say to me recently, I can't report to work, or I can't do this because I need to be there for my mother's lab results. Well, you're just getting the results. You're not actually, she's not actually going to surgery or anything. And she decided that the whole day she wouldn't even show up until 2 days later. Like, what's going on? So, that was an excuse, in my opinion. Maybe she thinks it's valid, and I don't want to seem unsympathetic, but this is simply getting results. Maybe okay, so I can understand if the results are really bad and she has to be there to confront her or console her. But she never afterwards told me that anything was wrong with her mother. Afterwards, just so the point I'm making here is that, as you pointed out, there was a side of you that said I can listen to my internal voice saying this is going to be. I'm not feeling at my optimum best to lead this call.
And do it anyway. Do shit anyway.
But you did it anyway.
Yeah.
And there was a decision that you had to make at that point as to whether or not saying, hey guys, something's come up. Whatever it is, we would have accepted that something's come up, and you would have said, okay, well, we will meet up following day. But you didn't, and you were open enough to say, hey, mentally, I'm not in the space that I would like to be. I couldn't tell that you were in any under.
You might have just thought of me as prickly, or more prickly today or whatever. But I didn't want to go that way with it, especially with our talking points today about failure and what it is and what it actually is and what we feel it is, right? I mean, if there was ever a time, it's when I'm feeling not so great to talk about that one, then that would have been it. And I couldn't have planned it better than that. So maybe there's a reason why today is the way it is, and I'm okay with that, especially if people are learning from it. And I appreciate that you appreciate the consistency. That's what I do, man. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm still on the call right now. I just want to make sure everybody's got what they need, can move forward and go, and not hold on my account. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
I probably won't be on the call tomorrow.
That's
I've
fine.
missed only 2 calls. I mean, even if I don't say anything or write anything, or I'm
I
there.
appreciate you. I appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, you've been consistent, dude. I know you have.
Yeah.
I have no qualms about your attendance rate. Okay, yeah, I know you're tuning in. Yeah, you got nothing to worry about. And even if you
All right.
weren't, um, you get what you need for you, and then go. Some people are so busy they getting clients that they can't tune in all the time. That's fine. I'm okay with that. That's a good problem to have.
I think that's where I need to be.
You're about to be there. That's my whole point. So don't feel bad about that. At the same time, do touch base and say hello, especially on better days for me. But I do want to hear from you. I do want to help you.
Let me get on the board, and then that will be my hello.
No. Don't use that as a reason to not get on a call. Use it as an incentive to get on the call the way you'd like to. But again, if you can't, then you got to keep swinging, which means maybe there's some course adjustments we need to have in terms of the sales conversations, right? That's why I said, hey, be sure you track everything, have some calls on Friday, tomorrow, and let's talk on Saturday morning about the calls Friday so that I can help you course correct. And if you do your preparation for the next week with that on Saturday, you're sitting very, very pretty for Monday through Thursday. Well, yeah, Monday through Thursday. And that's client getting city for you, right? Population 500,000 up, right? So, all right, my man. I'll catch you Saturday then. Not tomorrow, that's fine. But I'll definitely want to hear from you Saturday, whether you get a client or not. Now, I'd love to hear about a client, but I'm okay if you don't, more than okay, because I know that you put in the work on Friday, and that work is going to lead towards getting a client anyway. So, to me, as long as you're there Saturday, no big deal. We'll course correct and get you moving. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, my
Have a good
man.
evening.
Thanks for coming on and clarifying. I appreciate all that.
Stay
All
well.
right. You too, bud.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. I think we might have any more comments. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, we got a few. All right. So I'll answer these. Okay. There's Julian's comment. Glad we got that squared. I feel much better about where he's at now and what he's doing. Adrian, thank you for the advice today. I hope the rest of the day. Oh, I already read that. So it looks like this is the last comment, and then we'll bounce because I already did the last call. That was about an hour ago. Jeff says this is a great discussion. I always get value out of these talks. Good. I'm glad to hear it. As long as you're applying the value, that's the main thing. Do what you got to do to make it work for you, right? And learning lessons. Keep swinging. Detach your emotions and your feelings from what you do. Easier said than done, but if you're mindful of it, if you're aware of it to start with, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to point it out and be like, I'm feeling this way. I'm still going to do this. And it does make a difference at the end of the day. And not just the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year. Next thing you know, everybody says, man, you just like overnight built an entire agency and this and that and so much money and all the accolades and results and all that, and you did it overnight. No, not really. Wasn't overnight. Looked like it to you, but definitely was not overnight. So anyway, take that for what it's worth. Get to work. Get back to work. I'm just kidding. Get to work, and I'll meet you back here at 11 a.m. tomorrow. We'll meet in the middle and take it from there. All right. Bye for now, guys.
Cool. You fall. Back on my shit with a new advantage. I leave it up to you to settle the damage. Diamond, yeah, I know it's foreign to him. I came from the guts of rural Alabama. Steph Curry wrist, watch with the handle. Simple motors, gotta lead by example. Not too many make it out when they doubt. Never been about bailing off of my route. Rain gang, got the city HD. Hate to see my brother die every week. Numb to your vision. My life got me too fucked up. Disrespect to make a nigga go dumb. Pillow talking while you nursing that bitch and turn you to a scrub. I let prices from the plug, Bay Shore, Ocean View, or win Adidas with the boots. Niggas out here slinging arbitrage, so the money really no excuse.